Secretary Wade Crowfoot.
Here.
Secretary Yana Garcia. Hold. Deputy Secretary Sasha Kurgan.
Here.
Deputy Secretary Darwin Musavi.
Here.
Deputy Director Rohan Radhakrishna.
Here.
Secretary Karen Ross.
Present.
Chancellor Juan Sanchez Munoz.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. But Matt, do you want to share public comments process?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for everyone joining us today, whether in person, online, or by phone through the Zoom webinar platform, or where the meeting is being live streamed on SGC's YouTube channel and Cal EPA's live webcast. I'm here to provide some information to help guide us all through the process for this hybrid meeting, which we have designed with the intention of maximizing access by members of the public. For those joining by webinar, online, via Zoom, or by phone, please note that your microphone is automatically muted when you join. In order to minimize the risk of background noise, you will not be able to unmute your phone yourself. For those joining online via Zoom, please note that the webinar platform does not enable video for attendees, so we will not be able to see you. If you need technical assistance during the meeting or have a question about the meeting process, there are a few ways to contact us. If you're using the online Zoom webinar, the best way is by using the Q&A function. Several members of the SGC team are monitoring the Zoom Q&A to facilitate public access to the council meeting and may remove disruptive or threatening content. If you've joined by phone and you have access to email, please email sgc.info@sgc.ca.gov. If you do not have access to email, you may text or call 916-634-3359. If you plan to make in-person public comment, you must fill out a comment card provided at the table near the back of the room. Please fill out the public comment card to indicate your name and which item you would like to comment on. Bring your comment card to the table with the sign for collecting public comment cards. When the chair opens the public comment period for your item, we will read the names of everyone who has submitted a form for that item. Please line up by the podium when I do call your name in the order in which I have called it. When it's your turn to speak, I will call your name to the podium. If you plan to make remote public comment, you must be joining the meeting via Zoom, either through your desktop or phone. To make a public comment, visit sgc.ca.gov/meetings and complete the public comment form linked there. You'll need to complete separate forms for each item on which you wish to speak. You may complete a form at any time during the meeting. When the chair opens the public comment period for your item, we'll read the names of those who have submitted a form for that item. When you hear your name, please raise your hand. To do this online in the Zoom webinar, click the raise hand function under the participants menu. To raise your hand by phone, you'll press *9. When it's your turn to speak, a member of our team will unmute your microphone. If you're online, you will see a window pop up alerting you that the host is unmuting you. You will need to click the option to approve unmute in order to make your comment. After that, you may begin. If you're on the phone, you'll hear a recorded message alerting you that your line is unmuted. Please begin your comment after you hear the recorded message. If you're unable to complete the online form but would like to make a public comment, email sgc.info@sgc.ca.gov. Each speaker will have a maximum of 2 minutes to make their remarks. Speakers requiring or using translation services are allotted 4 minutes to facilitate full participation. A timer will be screen shared. Please monitor that timer and wrap up your remarks accordingly. Whether you are online or on the phone, you'll be notified when your time is up. And after that, we will mute your microphone. You do not need to take any additional action once we mute your microphone. Thank you all for your participation, and I will hand it back to the chair.
Great, thanks, Matt. And we will start with the first item, approval of the October 26, 2023 meeting minutes. I want to remind my colleagues that you need not have been here to vote on the minutes, but you can abstain. We'll have an opportunity for council discussion followed by public comments. I get a motion and second, or any public discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the October meeting.
Support by Secretary Ross.
Second.
Second by Mr. Cardenas. Any public comments?
We have no public comments on this item.
Roll call.
Director Acefa?
Yes.
Public Member Capretz? Public Member Cardenas?
Yes.
Secretary Crowfoot?
Yes.
Secretary Garcia?
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Kurgan,
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Musavi,
Yes.
Deputy Director Radhakrishna,
Yes.
Secretary Ross,
Yes.
Chancellor Munoz. Motion passes.
Great. So next item, I would now like to introduce our next action item for today, which is council elections. Believe it or not, been 2 years back at council elections, and I'll have Lynn sort of outline our process. Lynn? I hear you.
Always the first one to the mic to figure that out. Good afternoon, Council, and thank you everybody for being here today. We really appreciate your participation and your support. So the SGC Council Operating Guidelines and Public Resources Code Section 75122 requires the election of a chair and vice chair for the Strategic Growth Council every 2 years. The chair will be responsible for presiding over council and representing the council in public meetings. The vice chair will be responsible for fulfilling the chair's duties when the chair is unavailable. The last election occurred during the November 16th, 2021 SGC Council meeting, and Governor's Office of Planning Research Director Sam Asefa was chosen as chair, and California Department of Food and Agriculture Secretary Karen Ross as vice chair. So on behalf of the Strategic Growth Council team and myself, we just want to thank you for serving in these positions. Your leadership has been invaluable and very much appreciated. So after today's elections, the next election will be held in fall or winter of 2025. So today, the council may nominate a chair and a vice chair for the Strategic Growth Council. Following the nominations, the council will do a roll call vote. And then following Matt's reminder of public comment, we turn it over to Chair Asefa for council discussions. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Lynn. Any questions, comments from?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if there are no questions, I'd like to nominate a slate for chair and vice chair. I would like to nominate Sam Asefa to continue as chair. I really appreciate your leadership and the close working relationship that you have with SGC and just how synchronized all of that is. And I would be very pleased to nominate Frank Cardenas, who is serving as a wonderful public member. He has shown from day one how deeply engaged he is, his knowledge and scope of the work that we do. But most of all, I appreciate his passionate enthusiasm for the work. So I would be pleased to nominate the chair and the vice chair in that order. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Ross. I work with you, especially the passion you bring to this as well, to the work of the and especially the council. So thank you for accept your nomination. So I'll now pass to Matt. Oh, first of all, any council discussion on this? Going against Secretary Ross's nominations? You could do it in secret if you want. You don't. No.
No, Director Asefa, I think we're all, my sense is we all support certainly your continued leadership, and Frank moving into the role of vice chair is exciting.
And I would only add a thanks to Vice Chair Ross for the time and the passion that she brings as well. Thank you to both of you.
Thanks. And I'm also very delighted public member Cardenas is Secretary Ross in terms of the passion he brings. So
I could just offer my deepest appreciation to Councilmember Ross for her nomination, but more importantly for her leadership. These last 2 years, it's been a tremendous learning experience for me personally to be able to see how you handle matters and the judiciousness and the earnestness with which you approach the very important issues that we have. It's been a joy to serve with you, and I really appreciate your confidence very much.
Matt, any public comments?
We have no public comments on this item. If you'd like to close nominations, you can, and we can proceed to a vote.
Great. So we have motion.
Move to close nominations.
Great. Second.
Second.
We can proceed with the vote at this point.
Proceed.
All right. Director Acefa,
Yes.
we can hold the roll open for for Public Member Capretz if she'd like to make her vote later in the meeting. Public Member Cardenas,
Yes.
Secretary Crowfoot,
Yes.
Secretary Garcia, Deputy Secretary Kurgan,
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Musavi,
Yes.
Deputy Director Radhakrishna,
Yes.
Secretary Ross,
Yes.
Chancellor Munoz. The motion passes.
Great. Thank you. Move on to the next item, which is the Executive Director's report. And I would ask Executive Director Lynn Blanco-Klibert to give us the report. And as always excited to hear about SGC's work in this report. And the package has the current one, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Chair Sefa, and congratulations, Chair and Vice Chair. And once again, just welcome and thank you to everybody for joining us here today, both in person and those who are calling in on Zoom. We really do appreciate and need the public participation, and thank you for being here. So I would like to open today's report by acknowledging that California Native American tribes, tribal communities, and recognize that Indigenous people are the original stewards of the land and waters of what we now call California. I acknowledge that I am on unceded territory of the Miwok and Nisenan people. I honor Indigenous peoples past, present, and those who are here with us today. We thank Indigenous people for their stewardship and will continue to work to recognize and prioritize tribal and Indigenous community and knowledge throughout our work. We are also putting into practice the idea that the land acknowledgement at the opening of our council meeting also includes our transparency and our commitment towards action. In today's meeting, we are excited to bring forward a series of grant awards across 2 programs that support the priorities of California Native American tribes and tribal serving entities participating in the programs. We are also bringing forward updates in our Racial Equity Action Plan that demonstrates goals and strategies to further relationships with tribal nations, tribal serving organizations, and Indigenous people, to facilitate greater partnership, access to resources, and include tribal and Indigenous knowledge and expertise across SGC's work. While today you will see exciting momentum and progress as 2 of our programs have a greater level of tribal awards than ever before, you may also hear that we have areas that need improvement and further consideration, and that we have more learning to do as an organization and as a state. We are grateful for the consultations and the tribal partnerships that have brought us to this point today, but acknowledge that we have more work to do and are committed to prioritizing this important work. So today I'm really excited to introduce 5 new staff members that have joined the Strategic Growth Council. First, we have executive fellows who will be with us for this year, Alex Walker and Camille Randolph. Also, we're really excited for the 2 new members of our Agricultural Land Equity Program, Camille Frazier and Tessa Salzman. And we're excited to welcome back Kelsey Maffini, who is joining OPR as the legislative analyst and will be helping with SGC's legislative portfolio. I wanted to share with the council that we have been taking a number of site visits to meet with the regional climate collaboratives. Now, SGC leadership and the Community Assistance for Climate Equity team, we have been on the road. We've been visiting the Round 1 grantees and we'll visit all of the Round 1 grantees over the next 2 months. So I personally was able to visit the Siskiyou Climate Collaboratives and the Marin Climate Justice Collaborative, and I really appreciated meeting the full sectoral collaboratives, hearing the personal stories and lived experiences, walking tours of the community, and even being able to participate in the community engagement plan and help identify future funding activities. It was really exciting to see this program come to life. I'm also proud to share the updates on the Boost program. So through a partnership between SGC's Community Assistance for Climate Equity program and the Institute for Local Government, Boost provides tailored technical assistance for under-resourced local governments. So over 2 rounds, Boost has now provided $1.5 million in tailored support to local jurisdictions. This has led to an additional $75 million in additional public and philanthropic investments that have gone to the Boost recipients. One example that we just highlighted in a blog post that was written by our student assistant, Chanel Freeman, is focused on the City of Needles. So last April, we shared that the council that Boost enabled the City of Needles to be the first rural community and smallest city to receive the prestigious pro-housing designation from the Department of Housing and Community Development. Since then, the City of Needles has received an additional $4.1 million in essential infrastructure, upgrades, and climate adaptations that have come from both the Department of Transportation and the Housing and Community Development Department. So we would encourage you to read the blog post, which exemplifies why tailored technical assistance is crucial to support under-resourced communities and governments' access and implementation funding to develop projects that put communities first. Also excited to share, SGC and our partners at the California Department of Public Health and the Public Health Institute State of Equity recently convened the fourth and final Health in All Policies Task Force meeting for 2023. The task force brings together almost 30 agencies, departments, and offices to integrate health and racial equity into diverse state government programs and policies. So in the November quarterly convening, HIAP, which is the Health and All Policies Task Force members, discussed their successes from the past year and their opportunities for the next year. A couple of these successes include hosting an interagency forum on best practices with over 120 attendees and traveling to Finland to attend and present at the Global Network for Health and All Policies annual convening. So this year, HIAP hosted around 20 presentations on statewide health and racial equity initiatives, including state agency efforts and non-governmental entities who work closely with government. We are looking forward to hearing about accomplishments from HIAP in the next year. Now, moving forward, I'm excited to share a new initiative that we are working on at the Strategic Growth Council. So pursuant to our strategy to connect California communities to additional federal resources and private resources, we are getting ready to establish a public-private partnership that will invite Strategic Growth Council portfolio of grant recipients to build and participate in a virtual power plant. Virtual power plants, which are generally considered a connected aggregation of solar and storage resources across multiple sites, are being funded through the U.S. Department of Energy through the Loan Program Office. Now, we think this is an exciting opportunity and are grateful that the Department of Food and Agriculture will be coming forward with us on this first step. So the Strategic Growth Council Resiliency Centers program, as well as CDFA's Fairground Resiliency Program, will be entering into a $0 contract with a private partner to design, finance, construct, operate the network of energy resources. We're called a virtual power plant, or VPP. So what the big question, how does this work? Why does this work for everybody? I think it's really exciting. So for the grantees, they'll receive discounted renewable energy on premise, increase their resiliency, and receive a rental income for grantees for the use of their roofs and parking lots. For the private partner, this gives them access to a much less expensive source of capital to be able to make these investments and finance this work. They'll also be introduced to a portfolio of locations and who have energy consumers for the private partner, making their jobs a little bit easier. And for the Strategic Growth Council, we will be able to leverage our state resources and be able to help secure an operating revenue that will help us continue to support the advancement of state climate equity goals for the Strategic Growth Council. So we are getting ready to put out a request for proposals in January of 2024. And we're targeting the selection of the private partner to coincide with the award of Round 1 Resiliency Centers. And finally, I wanted to share with you the 2024 SGC Catalyst models. So following the creation of our first 3 Catalyst models last year, we are pleased to bring 3 new models that advance climate equity. These models build off the best practices and lessons learned from SGC's experience, building physical and social infrastructure programs that advance climate equity, and will be presented at our 2024 Catalyst Conference. The first is going to be iterative and inclusive program design. And this model details the iterative process that SGC and its partner agencies take in designing and implementing climate equity programs to respond to the changing needs of their constituents through iteration and adaptability, and leading to improved program outcomes for recipients and implementing entities. The second model is on collaborative governance. So this model details the way that SGC supports community-led collaborative government structures that position communities for access to funding opportunities now and in the future. And finally, we'll be releasing a model on multi-benefit projects. And this model details the way that SGC ensures its investments generate wide-reaching and long-lasting benefits that extend well beyond the scope and lifetime of a particular project. And I'm very excited. These will go on our website in the coming weeks, and we'll make sure to promote publicly when those are available. So thank you for the time. And next, following Matt's public reminder on public comment, we'll turn it back over to Chair Sefa for council discussion. Thank you.
If any members of the public would like to comment on this item, please submit a public comment card at the front table. To make virtual public comment, visit sgc.ca.gov/meetings to complete the public comment card. I'll now pass it back to the chair.
Great, thanks, Lynn. Again, I'm always excited when you compile this in report because there's always, even though I follow it on a weekly basis, there's always something new. But just I want to emphasize two things out of your presentation. I think the site visits are so valuable, so informative, and it's a two-way process as well because, as you know, we always sit here and review grant applications, vote for them. It's so different when you're actually on the ground and see and talk to the people, see the projects, learn about what is working, what isn't, and it's constantly improving our process, even as you develop the guidelines. So thank you for continuing to do that. And I'm also very intrigued about the virtual power plants concept. This is another sort of innovation that only SGC can do. Sorry, Wade or Yana. But just to really think about the private-public financing for the kind of benefits that this could have for communities. It's just tremendous. So really excited about that. So I'll stop there and open it up for comments from colleagues.
Well, I always have to comment. I'm very impressed at how busy everybody is and how much you accomplish. So it's the end of the year, and I want to say how much we really appreciate the good work that you do and everyone on staff does. So thank you.
Great. Anybody else?
We have one public comment on this item. We'll begin with virtual public comment. When I call your name, if you could please raise your hand in the Zoom function. John Witchell, are you with us?
Hi,
John, we can hear you. You may begin your public comment.
thank you. My name is John Witchell. I am the CEO of King Energy. King Energy is a solar developer based in San Luis Obispo. We specialize in building virtual power plants, especially in LMI California communities. We have over 100 megawatts of solar projects live or in development in California, and I wanted to provide my support for this program. The Resilience Center program is a fantastic program, and I believe it will create a valuable asset to all Californians. It is an example of us doing our best to take care of our own, especially those most vulnerable to climate change. Based on my 10 years of experience in the energy industry, developing renewable assets and speaking to the proposed operational approach as I know it, the program makes a lot of sense. As someone who would be interested in competing for the public-private partnership, I'm very excited to the next steps. I think this is an important way to deliver a great solution for people who have been historically underserved and provide equitable access to energy. I'm looking forward to participating in the process in the coming year. Thank you.
That concludes public comment on this item.
Great. So moving on to item 6, this is the consent calendar. The consent calendar is for routine and non-controversial business. I'll ask Executive Director Lynn Blanco-Klibert again to provide a brief overview of the items that are on the consent calendar. Lynn?
Thank you, Chair. So today we have 3 items on the consent calendar. The approval of the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Round 8 guidelines, the approval of a technical amendment for the Community Resiliency Center Round 1 guidelines, and the approval of a new member of the California Agricultural Land Equity Task Force. And I'll just provide a slight summary on each of these. So for the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Round 8 guidelines, this streamlines and strengthens previous rounds, focusing on reducing uncertainty for applications and reviewers. The changes include clarifying rural designations to improve access and increasing opportunities for rural projects to achieve the goals of the program. The team also clarified that factory-built housing is an eligible project and will now allow projects utilizing factory-built housing to receive a grant at the start of the award to address financing and timing challenges. Similar to the previous round, the notice of funding availability will be released in January, and applications would be due 60 days later in March. Round 8 is estimated to have $675 million in funding available for projects that build affordable housing and sustainable transportation initiatives. Second, the Community Resiliency Center Round 1 guidelines is proposing a technical amendment to incorporate the recent authorization from Assembly Bill 590 HERT for SGC to provide advance payment to eligible recipients for the effective implementation of the program. This action would improve and expand the existing advance pay practices for state grantees and contracts with nonprofits. And finally, the nomination of the California Land Equity Task Force is a member appointed by the California Department of Food and Agriculture BIPOC Farmer Advisory Committee as required by statute. The CDFA BIPOC Advisory Committee was formally established in July 2023 and approved the nomination of Shi Zhu, who is the equity lead at the California Association of Resource Conservation Districts in Sacramento Valley. And following Matt's reminder on public comment, we'll turn it back to Chair Asefa for council discussion.
If members of the public would like to comment on this item, please submit a public comment card at the back table. To make virtual public comment, please visit sgc.ca.gov/meetings and complete the public comment form. I'll now pass it back to the chair.
Great, thanks. Any questions from council members on this or motion in a second?
I would move passage of the 3 items on the consent calendar.
I'll second.
The second. Oh. Motion is second. Roll call.
We have public comment on this item. We have 2 in-person public comments and 1 virtual public comment. We will begin with the in-person public comments. I will read the names of everybody in person who has signed up to comment on this item. If you could approach the podium in the order in which I call your name. Suzanne Kim and Justin Smith, if you would approach the podium, please.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Kim. I'm with Northern California Land Trust. Our housing project called Woolsey Gardens, there's attachments there. I was told that you can take one and pass one down, is 100% permanently affordable. It's ownership, not rental units, giving low-income households an opportunity to build equity. Has low operational carbon footprint because it's zero net energy, has low embodied carbon footprint because it's mass timber, and uses small lots so that we can quickly and easily build dense housing. And yet this year, again, we are precluded from applying because a threshold requirement 106B7 disallows principals to use their background and their track record to use that and on behalf of the entity. I'm a 25-year professional. I am a deeply personal, private person, but I'm going to share my story. I've worked extremely hard in my life to get the best education. I went to Harvard, I went to Dartmouth, I worked in the most prestigious development firms. I worked my butt off going to networking events in real estate development. Let me tell you, for people like me who look like me, we will never make it. We will never make the promotion. So what do? We go to small organizations or we start our own practice. That's what we do. I have got this project done with the best professionals possible. And yet I cannot apply because HCD said, we are not experienced enough to qualify. This is a deeply hard project and a deeply hard application process. I find this very, very problematic and offensive and very discriminatory. I want to also say that we have tried to reach out to all of you. We've been thwarted. I've only been able to reach Councilperson Capretz about this. I would like for an opportunity to discuss this. I know we have another year to discuss this, but 2 times we cannot apply. And this is so heartbreaking for professionals like me and my colleague who've worked our entire lives to get to where we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next comment is from Justin Smith.
Right. Good afternoon. Hello, council members. Thank you and staff for your efforts and leadership in this effort. My name is Justin Smith. And I'm a real estate developer and partner with the Northern California Land Trust in the Bay Area. I'd like to point out this opportunity was carved out using excess carbon trading revenue after protests by largely African American and low-income communities of color and so on. We like to continue to see that smaller BIPOC developers are given an opportunity to participate in the program. We see that navigating the guidelines and the point system in some cases makes this difficult, as my partner has pointed out. And one of the things that we see is some of the larger development organizations are given the opportunity in somewhat a better approach at reaching all the points, and with us who are passionate about our communities, passionate about development, passionate about making sure that certain people of color or certain persons in our community, whether it's homeless, whether it's 30% AMI, whether it's 50, whether it's 80, whether it's 100, all of us need a place to stay and need a roof over our head. We want to, as smaller people who are passionate about our community, want to see it and make that happen. And when guidelines and other restrictions and other things, when you start adding up the points and looking at this line, looking at that line, prevent that, then it becomes a challenge. And all that we want to do is make sure that us, people in our community, people that don't have, people that are without, have a roof over their head. So we urge that as you look forward at the next round of guidelines, you consider some of these things, you consider the letter that we provided, and you take that into consideration. Thank you for allowing me to have this time. Appreciate you.
That concludes in-person public comment. We will continue to virtual public comment. When I call your name, if you could please raise your hand in the Zoom function. You'll be unmuted at that time. Akiko Nishino, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon. My name is
Thank you.
Akiko Nishino, and I am representing Disability Rights California. And I wanted to comment on the AHSC Round 8 guidelines. And we would just like to say that we would like to thank the council for making the program more affordable, but we do not believe that it is affordable enough. And we hope that in the future that you will target an even deeper level of affordability moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Akiko. That concludes public comment on this item.
Great, thanks for the public comments. I'm going to ask Deputy Secretary Kurgan if she would like to respond to some of the comments.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to thank the public commenters for joining us today, for coming with materials to inform the council, and also assure you that we take seriously the responsibility to update the guidelines with information from interested parties. And so appreciate the, we will review this. We'll review it with staff. I can't commit to timelines right now, but as you know, we update the guidelines on a regular basis, and we would be happy to meet in the interim. There's public forums for all of it. There's also other ways to reach us. And so I would be happy to meet to understand more. You've given me enough of a thread, but I'll read these materials and would be happy to meet offline to talk. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes.
Oh, well, I appreciate Secretary Kagan, just to make sure I pronounce it correctly, your acknowledgement of the ideas. I will tell you, not having seen this document, there were just 2 points in particular that I find quite interesting, could potentially be of some value. This notion of consideration for innovation, and this point of, again, additional consideration for community-based developers strike me as very intuitive. Whether they make the point or others about being innovative, dynamic, piloting, et cetera, and having people, of course, that are based there, invested, helping that inform these kinds of projects strike me as just intuitively relevant and meaningful. So I appreciate your willingness to consider those suggestions among many others.
Great, thanks. Roll call.
We have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
We can proceed with the vote. Director Acefa,
Yes.
Public Member Cardenas,
Yes.
Secretary Crowfoot,
Yes.
Secretary Garcia,
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Kurgan,
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Musavi,
Yes.
Deputy Director Radhakrishna,
Yes.
Secretary Ross,
Yes.
Chancellor Munoz.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Great. Now we move to two very important action items. First one, we will take an action item to approve the Transformative Climate Communities Round 5 Award. And again, I would like to invite Lynn and TCC Interim Program Manager Jerry Rivero. I guess Jerry will be presenting the item. Then we'll have council discussion followed by public comments.
Ready? Check, check. There we go. All right. Good afternoon, esteemed council. My name is Jerry Rivero, acting TCC program manager. Today, I have the honor and the privilege to present the Round 5 TCC award recommendations. Before I begin, though, I would like to recognize the TCC team that is here today in the room. We have some folks from the DOC side are standing in the back. Also want to recognize the SGC crew that's sitting there in that row. Really, this team is amazing, passionate and phenomenal team. I'm honored to work with them, doing an amazing job of uplifting the programmatic goals of TCC for the communities across the state of California. So cheers, y'all. Yes, that's right. All right, with that, let's begin. So yes. So a quick recap of the application that began in February of this year. In March, Council adopted the Round 5 TCC guidelines and authorized staff to release the TCC Notice of Funding Availability for $99.2 million. The program made available $88.5 million for 3 implementation grants, $9.8 million for project development grants, and $900,000 for 3 planning grants. Early in the year, staff held application workshops with tailored sessions for tribal and unincorporated communities. Direct application TA was available from March through August for all implementation grant applicants, as well as all tribal and disadvantaged unincorporated communities applicants. One of the program's main policy priorities this year was to increase access to disadvantaged unincorporated and tribal communities. To support this, direct application TA was also made available, prioritizing applicants to the project development grants, which we'll speak to in a second, from disadvantaged unincorporated communities and tribal communities. The next slide. So the next couple of slides contain a quick snapshot of the application review process for all grant types. As in previous rounds, TCC staff reviewed all applications for completeness and threshold requirements in the pre-application process, providing feedback to applicants prior to the final application deadline. After final applications were received, TCC convened an interagency review panel to assist with the review and scoring of all applications. Next slide. So implementation grants included a review of proposed GHG emissions reductions by both TA providers and CARB staff. Site visits were conducted to all implementation grant applicant sites. Lastly, scoring deliberations were conducted by both TCC staff and interagency reviewers. Next slide, please. So in this round, TCC received 6 applications, 5 of which were former TCC planning grant awardees, 2 from the Central Valley, 1 from Inland Empire, San Diego, Los Angeles, and Sacramento. Reviewers scored all proposals for community vision, partnership, and project integration. Scores are out of a total of 205 points, with the final scores ranging from 153 to 176 points. The top 4 applications this round were very close and extremely competitive. The second, third, and fourth ranked applications differed from 1 point each other, producing a virtual tie. Next slide. Given this scoring outcome, staff will recommend awarding the top 4 scoring applicants equal implementation grant awards of $22,125,000. Program staff will work with awardees during the post-award consultation process to modify original proposals to match this updated award amount. through a participatory process. I'd like to highlight that new to SGC is the Connecting Communities Initiative, which will work directly with implementation grant applicants to help fill this funding gap following the adjusted award amounts. While SGC is recommending reduced awards, we are energized by the unprecedented support to pursue supplemental federal environmental justice dollars with applicants through this Connecting Communities Initiative, working with our TA provider, Horn. Next slide, please. Here we have a map that illustrates the current TCC award sites, including now the round 5 awarded sites. I will now go briefly into the recommended implementation grant.
Can we go back to that slide one more time?
I lost it. We lost it. Sorry about that. Nope. There we go. Yeah, so this, again, this shows all current implementation grants and the recommended round 5 grant locations for a geographic depiction here. All right, so now we'll go into the recommended implementation grant awardees. Next slide, please. Pomona Acts, activated for community transformation and sustainability, led by the Energy Coalition, will serve northern and historic downtown Pomona. The proposal builds upon its former round 3 TCC planning grant and seeks to transform the community encompassing downtown with three mixed-use corridors and several diverse neighborhoods through its suite of 9 projects, connecting residents to transportation, renewable energy, green infrastructure, and improved community health. Next slide. Coachella Prospera, led by the city of Coachella, serves residents in the city center. It advances the vision of a more equitable and climate resilient community through 7 projects, including affordable housing construction, increased zero emission, public and micro transit, urban greening, park improvements, and residential solar installations. Next slide. The Rooted in Comunidad, Cultivating Equity proposal led by the San Diego Foundation will serve San Diego's Barrio Logan community. The plan includes 9 directly funded and 2 standalone leverage projects, including land acquisition for community land trust, transit capital improvements, an expanded free ride-sharing service, home energy and water efficiency retrofits, and new parks and green spaces. Last but not least on this recommendations, next slide, is Southeast Strong proposal led by the city of Bakersfield, which will serve the Southeast Bakersfield neighborhood. The proposal includes a series of 9 integrated projects and 3 standalone leverage projects that improve area connectivity, reduce greenhouse gases while building new housing, providing solar and weatherization to current housing, and establishing community gardens and increased urban greening opportunities. Now I will transition to the project development grant recommendations. So next slide. So as a quick reminder, TCC project development grants fund pre-development and basic infrastructure activities that advance the community's climate and community resilience goals. This pilot grant prioritizes disadvantaged unincorporated communities, tribal communities, prior planning grant grantees, and previous implementation grant applicants for funding, with disadvantaged unincorporated communities given the most priority. In this round, TCC received 10 eligible project development grant applications, 6 of which represent tribal and or duck communities. Applications with, it's a little hard to see on the screen, but applications with tribal co-applicants are indicated by a blue star. Applicants with unincorporated territories are indicated by a yellow star. The round 5 NOFA made 9.8 million available for project development grants with award amounts up to 5 million. We have the next slide shows a geographic depiction of the spread of these recommended awarded sites. Next slide, please. So to summarize this, TCC staff recommend awarding the 4 top scoring applicants. The total amount requested across these applicants is 8.7 million going to Riverside, Santa Barbara, Mariposa counties, as well as Mendocino County Resource Conservation District. I will move on to planning grants. So for round 5, TCC received 15 eligible planning grant applications. We're pleased to report that after continuing to make our program accessible to disadvantaged unincorporated communities and California Native American tribes in this round, 7 of 15 applications included these communities. Applicants with tribal co-applicants are indicated by a blue star. Applicants with unincorporated territories are indicated by a yellow star on this slide. Next slide, please. Here we have another map depicting past planning grantees across the state and now including the round 5 recommended awardees. Next slide. So in sum, program staff recommend funding $899,910 in total funding to be awarded to the 3 top scoring applications presented on this slide: Urban Collaborative Project, Community Development Corporation, serving the city of San Diego, Tranquility Resource Center, serving Fresno County, and then Grid Alternatives of Greater Los Angeles. Slide, please. I'll speak a little to the SGC Connecting Communities initiative. Beyond state level grants, communities and advocates are mobilizing to respond to funding opportunities from the Inflation Reduction Act, which will invest $370 billion nationally in clean energy and climate action. SGC2 is mobilizing as a first initiative under the Connecting Communities program. TCC and our technical assistance partner will be connecting with TCC partners specifically to unlock federal funding, including the recently announced EPA's Community Change Grants, modeled after our program. Next slide. We'll just summarize the award amounts for planning grants, project development grants, and the implementation grants awards. Slide. Yeah, in closing, TCC staff are recommending the approval of 4 implementation grant awards, 4 project development grant awards, and 3 planning grant awards for the round 5 of the Transformative Climate Communities. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jerry. Matt?
If members of the public would like to comment on this item, please submit a public comment card at the front table. To make a virtual public comment, please visit sgc.ca.gov/meetings and complete the public comment form. I'll pass it back to the chair.
Great, thanks. We will start council comments, discussion. Open it up. Chancellor Munoz.
Oh, just very quickly. First of all, thank you. I can't imagine the amount of work that was to read all of those applications and think about it judiciously and equitably. And I would just, I couldn't help but notice I work at a university in the city of Merced. We didn't quite make the cut in one of the planning grants. Fine. But fine. But you know who did? Mariposa County, Mendocino County, Fresno. And I can't imagine that everyone will be absolutely satisfied with the distribution of awards, but I can't imagine that anybody would argue that it wasn't done with as equitable sort of lens as possible. And I know Mariposa County is not one that receives a great deal of attention or support, and the Mendocino I would include. And so I just I want to just applaud your efforts at trying to, again, maybe in some ways, look at some areas that have been historically perhaps overlooked and provide them with much needed support. And so Merced is located in the broader San Joaquin Valley. So we're very grateful for the awards that will help those communities in the San Joaquin. Thank you.
Comments, discussion from council members? Secretaries.
Yeah, I think similarly, and I'll be short, but I just really appreciate the evolving nature of how you're approaching the program and continuing to make sure that you're focused on getting technical assistance to communities who are asking for it, who certainly deserve it. So the expansion to more attention to tribal communities feels very timely and responsive to what the council's been asking for. And so I appreciate all your leadership in this program and all the great team that you have working with you. That's all. Thanks.
Secretary Garcia.
Thank you. Exciting to see these, and definitely want to echo the thanks to the staff who's worked tirelessly on this, and to so many of you who pushed for the TCC program to exist in the first place and who are actually contributing to its iterative process over time and the real success that we're seeing on the ground. So thank you to all of you. I actually just want to give a nod to the connecting that's happening to additional sources of funding. I think that, you know, we're at a very happy time in terms of putting these awards forward, and want to acknowledge that there is a need to seek further funding to continue the great work that you all have moving. And so that part of us being able to provide a very key connection and touch point to federal sources and other sources of funding to continue to grow this great work until we can fund this more long-term is really critical and important. And I just want to acknowledge that that is the reality, and that does not belittle in any way the great, immense effort that's brought us to where we are today. We really see that, and we're benefiting from that statewide. So just wanted to acknowledge that, and looking forward to these awards going out.
Deputy Secretary.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to echo all those thanks and to all the work that's gone into this, and build off of Secretary Garcia's comments regarding leveraging federal funds and basically offer our assistance as well with the bipartisan infrastructure bill work that's going on, and CalSTA and Caltrans are working really hard to make sure we're bringing those dollars in as well, the IIJA dollars in addition to the IRA dollars. And so if there's opportunities for connections, even as I saw these grants, I think there's plenty of overlap with the work that we're doing. So happy to be a conduit to make those connections as well, to make the connecting communities effort that you all are doing even more robust. So, and thanks again for all the hard work.
Chair, if I might, down in Los Angeles, we're very excited about the TCC investments that have already been made in LA, and I can tell you how excited we are down in LA to see these investments expanding to the Central Valley and to Coachella. And I will tell you from experience from Los Angeles, the investments that TCC makes in communities are rebounded and multiplied by private sector investments. We're already seeing that in LA and communities where we haven't seen meaningful investment in decades. It really is truly transformative. We're already seeing it on the ground, and it's improving people's lives. So congratulations to all of you guys for the implementation and the planning, the development. It's an awful lot of work that you guys have put into it, and people yet unborn are going to benefit from your hard work for generations. So congratulations to you guys.
Great. I'll just make three quick comments. One, just how impressive the proposals are from the various communities. Very distinctly different, but incredible, each one of them. And just a testament in terms of how local communities think about what is important for them. So I think that is one. Second, it's great to see more and more disadvantaged and unincorporated communities actually applying and getting awards. And then third, I'll just repeat what others said. I think it's not only the volume of application that you're reviewing, the quality of the review. Even above that, it's just the innovation, and even in the review within that context, that you have been able to implement when points are like 0.0020 difference. So that taking that much care is really a testament to the program. And Jerry, hitting the ground running, you've only been there, 8 months? And this is an incredible work for you and your team. So really appreciate staff's work on this. Very, very exciting. With that, we go to public comments, unless I don't see anybody else. Oh, Deputy Director Radha Krishna.
Thank you, Chair. If we may comment, going back to the Executive Director's report on those 3 catalytic concepts: iterative and inclusive program design, collaborative governance, multi-benefit projects. I think TCC really exemplifies all 3 of those things. It's really a model that California is proud of. And from our staff that was involved in the interagency review, kind of looking under the hood of your process, it's the process and the how that's so impressive, the time and the consideration and the site visits that were mentioned. And so we really want to honor that and say we're looking forward to being involved in future rounds. And these recommendations are more than just a decision to the winners. It's a signal to the other applicants, past, present, and future, about the seriousness of kind of walking the talk with these concepts. So we want to thank you for that. Just from a health perspective, seeing Pomona looking at cool residential roofs and electric bikes, we know that promotes health. Or in San Diego, land acquisition, the importance of that from the multi-benefit model. So thanks for walking the talk, and we look forward to partnering with you in the future.
Great. Go to public comments.
We have 19 public comments on this item, 12 of which are in person. We'll begin with in-person public comment, and I will begin by reading the first 3 names of those signed up to comment on this item. When I read your name, if you could approach the podium in the order in which I call your name. Jason Cater, Ben Gozier, and Kevin Kallman. If you could approach the podium, please. You will have 2 minutes for your public comment. Jason, whenever you're ready, you may begin your public comment.
Will do. Good evening, or good afternoon, excuse me. Jason Cater, Economic and Community Development Manager for the City of Bakersfield. I apologize, I sat on the other side of the room and took the long route, apparently. I just want to come here and say thank you on behalf of the City of Bakersfield. We personally began this journey with TCC actually in 2017, attending a workshop on the round 2 guidelines where you had a call for partners. I was a young staff at the time. Our current vice mayor, who's with us today, was also there in that room. And it's exciting to be here today with the contingency from Southeast Bakersfield here through this process. Our application, just to talk to the inclusive process and the journey, we started with a plan grant in 2019, went through that process, 2020 round 4 submitted, had some adjustments to make, went back to our partners, shifted our focus to Southeast Bakersfield, an area that historically has a lot of pride and culture in it, has really been impacted by underinvestment, discriminatory practices in the past. And through that collaboration, through our outreach, through our engagement, we really believe that we have an application that'll build on the goals of the Strategic Growth Council, but also builds on our assets in that community and really speaks to the history of what makes Southeast Bakersfield so special. So on behalf of our team, we thank you for the recommendation, and we look forward to the collaboration to really transform Southeast Bakersfield.
Thank you. I want to make a quick reminder if folks can try to speak into the microphone. We are getting a little bit of feedback that it's hard to hear on the internet broadcast. Our next speaker is Ben Gozier. Ben, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Ben Goger, Senior Planner from Mariposa County. Just really happy to be here. We've looked up to the Strategic Growth Council for many years. I'm happy to be in this room and really here to express gratitude today. First, for the inclusion of the disadvantaged unincorporated communities in the guidelines, as well as the tribal communities. It's really difficult for rural and gateway communities to access project development funding, as well as unfederally recognized tribes to gain funding. So when we saw the round 5 TCC guidelines, we were just really overjoyed. We saw a program that kind of understood the environmental, economic, and political complexities of these disadvantaged unincorporated communities. So we're really thankful to have a state partner that embraces those complexities and has committed strategic investments that will have a resonating impact and a positive impact on Mariposa and the Yosemite region for generations to come. I also have to give a quick shout out and thank you to the Department of Transportation, in particular Caltrans District 10, who funded the initial study for us through Sustainable Communities grant that really laid the groundwork for us to move into project development. So thank you, all you Fresno folks down there. That planning grant was adopted earlier this year, and it's very exciting to move directly into project development, to go right off of planning into this. I'm grateful for that speed. We don't always have that in government, and I feel like we're being pretty nimble right now with that. And finally, I'd like to thank SGC staff and technical assistance providers that helped us so much articulate our shared connection points that we really have between our local and state values. Thank you for your recommendation.
Thank you. Kevin Kallman.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Kallman. I'm the General Manager for Desert Recreation District. And I'm also, or not I, but our agency is also one of the partners in the Coachella Prospera project. And we're here mostly just to say thank you for recognizing the need in our region, supporting our application, providing the assistance along the way. This isn't the first application that's come in. But we have a try and try again attitude where we come from. And we're here and we are thrilled with the recommendation and want to say thank you. And also on behalf of Riverside County, also a partner of Desert Recreation District that will be getting a planning award. Thank you. And to reiterate what our colleagues have said with regard to recognizing the unincorporated communities, hugely important in Riverside County. So thank you very much. And we look forward to working more.
Thank you. I'll call up the next three speakers. If you could come up in the order that I call your names. Stephanie Vergen, Dr. Frank Figueroa, and Steve Hayes. If you could approach the podium, please. Stephanie, you may begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council. Thank you so much for the opportunity of being here today. I am Mayor Pro Tem Stephanie Virgen with the City of Coachella, proudly representing Coachella Está Presente. We are here. And I just want to say thank you so much for this great opportunity. Our application had about 10 co-applicants, and being able to work with everyone, knowing that this award is not only going to help our community, and we have almost 50,000 residents, and it's not only going to help us, but also our surrounding unincorporated communities that are underserved within the county. And so to us, it was really important that we move forward, that we continue to work. And a huge shout out to our staff that is here today, in particular to Selena Jimenez, who I don't know how she does it, but she is our grants queen back in Coachella. She makes it happen time and time after. And so we're really grateful. We just want to say thank you so much for believing in us. We are here. We want to continue to collaborate. We want to continue to work. Our community is extremely important to us, and we know that they deserve the very best. And you allowing us to be able to receive this award is telling us that, and is allowing us to tell them that they deserve the very best. So thank you.
Dr. Frank Figueroa.
Afternoon, everybody. It's trying to acquaint myself what time it is in the day, right? It's afternoon. Thank you, Council, for having us here today. My name is Frank Figueroa, and I am a City Council member in the City of Coachella. And I just want to say thank you, right? Because Coachella means a lot to me, and Coachella Prospera means we're looking forward to the future. And this project is going to go a long way for the next generation of Coachella residents and the people that come and call Coachella home. Right? Because Coachella is growing, it's continuing and growing in different ways. And so we're looking forward to the potential. And the 6th Street senior apartments, the idea started at 6th Street with our partner, Chelsea Corp, when I sat down with coffee with them once. And it's really great to see that come to fruition and see how that's come a long way in just a 1 year meeting with them and seeing where we're going with this project. So I wanted to shout out to the staff, but also the Strategic Growth Council staff for all the work that they did as well. And so thank you for everything and thank you.
Our next commenter is Steve Hayes. And if Denise Delgado, Empress Nonsi Calello, and Jake Whitaker could approach the podium after that, I would appreciate it. Steve, you may begin your comment.
Good afternoon. I'm Steve Hayes. I'm Executive Director for Tranquility Resource Conservation District in the west side of Fresno County. Demographically, 75, 90% tile at the bottom. And we have 4 unincorporated communities. One is called Alkali Flats. The other is called Perry Colony, another one called Raisin City, and the last one is Tranquility, all unincorporated, disadvantaged communities. Alkali Flat, just so you know the importance of what you've awarded us. The importance of it is like a lifeline, but to transform that from not just the lifeline that you're giving us, but making it a pragmatic pathway forward. a lot of challenges on a socioeconomic, environmental, and demographical basis. And the west side of Fresno County has traditionally been underlooked, shall we say. Some would say flyover, that sort of thing. But when you go to like Alkali Flats and Perry Colony, they don't even have paved roads whatsoever. And my background, my family, they worked in the Depression and subsequently out in the fields as well. And here we are today, and we have this great opportunity. I'm just glad that Strategic Growth Council in the state of California has that vision. So thank you on behalf of our team. I'm running out of time, but if I can mention real quickly, Carbon Cycle Institute, Self-Help Enterprises, West Valley Community College, Farm of the Future, and Doctor, we are working with UC Merced under F3, Clean, Vista, and so forth. So we can talk about that later.
Thank you.
I think I got our team complete. Oh, I forgot. McMillan Area Groundwater Sustainability Agency, one of the few in a severely overdrafted region that got approved, their 1,000-page plan approved, and that included triple bottom line plus.
Thank you, Steve.
Very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Denise Delgado.
Good afternoon. I'm Councilwoman Denise Delgado from the city of Coachella. This recommendation provides and allows the very special city of Coachella that is 97% Latino with a rich culture to continue on the path of building a sustainable and healthier community that all of our families and residents will benefit from decades to come, providing a clean and safe environment, an environment that meets Coachella's needs, those throughout the Coachella Valley and all of our partners. An environment that provides social equity and inclusivity. It increases physical and mental health and the importance of wellness and well-being as the center and future of building communities. This investment will tackle on big challenges that Coachella is facing, like many other cities, will provide mobility, access to housing, green spaces, and employment that are all components of a good quality life. A big thank you to the Strategic Growth Council, TCC program staff, Coachella residents, all those who participated in all of our community meetings, city staff, and all of our partners here today. This is just a reflection of the strong community that Coachella represents and all those dedicated to it. Coachella prospera. Coachella's future shines bright. So thank you all for your recommendation.
Our next speaker is Empress Nancy Calello.
My hat comes off to you, but you pronounced my name, which means blessed visionary. What a monumental moment to stand here. This little girl who danced among the tumbleweeds in the dust-covered fields of the city of Bakersfield, knowing that every time her mom hit her in the mouth, said, "That mouth of yours," and knowing that that mouth would grow up one day to become a voice for an area that's a disadvantage, an area where I was raised and where I still live. Knowing that in all the times that I gave up because it seemed like the change would never come. But one day, November 2019, I'll never forget it. The voice came within and said, "It's a new day. It will not be business as usual. The status quo is no more." And then to have them come to me and say, "We got one more chance for you to speak." And I remember being out there in that field and looking at Bakersfield and seeing the regression and the deterioration and said, "What can I do to change this?" And when that chance came again, to be able to go out there and speak and see and bring to the forefront with a team who is now have a vision and who is inclusive of everyone, who is bringing the type of services to the area that where I live, for my great-grandchildren and my grandchildren, and for those who are long gone. It is a monumental moment for me. You see this gray hair? I was dancing in the late 40s among those tumbleweeds. And I thank you for having the faith in us. And I thank the team that I'm with today for being there and working those long hours so that we can bring transformative change, climate change to the city of Bakersfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jake Whitaker. After Jake will be Olivia Seidemann, Fabiola Moreno, and Kyle Heskala. If you could approach the podium, please. Jake, you may begin.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jake Whitaker. I'm the Director of Grant Services for Rennie Public Policy Group. My team and I work with public agencies to apply for competitive grant funds. And I want to say congratulations to my friends in the city of Bakersfield on their successful TCC application. This award is a culmination of 3 years of hard work by their team and a robust grassroots effort to engage the residents in Southeast Bakersfield. And my team is honored to have supported Bakersfield's efforts to apply for TCC this year. And I would just say personally that being here to see this award recommended is without a doubt the highlight of my career as a grant professional. I'm also here today. We also work with the Housing Authority of the County of San Bernardino and the City of San Bernardino, and they asked me to come and speak to you as well. And just to say, we applied for the project development grant, coming just 3 points shy. That's a tough loss in a competition where there are 4 funded and you come in 5th and only 3 points shy. And so I know, there's disappointment in San Bernardino about the outcome. I've talked to the community members there about it. And just want to thank the Strategic Growth Council on their behalf for the opportunity to apply and for your consideration of their application. And just want you to know that we plan to continue working with our partners in San Bernardino to pursue funding to revitalize the Waterman Baseline neighborhood, which is one of the most impoverished neighborhoods in the state of California. And we will be working with that coalition to redouble our efforts. We look forward, hopefully, to working with the Strategic Growth Council to advance that vision as well. Thank you.
Olivia Seidemann.
Thank you for the opportunity to comment. My name is Olivia Seidemann, Climate Policy Coordinator with Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability. We work with many disadvantaged unincorporated communities across the San Joaquin and Eastern Coachella Valleys and are grateful to TCC program staff for continuing to work with us to make TCC grants more accessible to disadvantaged unincorporated communities across the state. We're very excited for and in strong support of the award of over $4 million to unincorporated communities in the Eastern Coachella Valley in round 5, and are also very glad to see that funds have been allocated for Southeast Bakersfield in Bakersfield as well. Unincorporated communities in the ECV face multiple short and long-term climate threats and impacts. There's a lack of adequate transportation infrastructure, poor air quality, extreme heat, frequent power outages due to aging energy infrastructure, and more. The unincorporated community of North Shore specifically is in great need of a community resilience center to provide resources to residents in and surrounding the community during power outages, floods, extreme heat events, and poor air quality days due to proximity to the Salton Sea. We thank Secretary Garcia for visiting the ECV recently to see these issues up close and welcome any other council members or SGC staff who are interested in coming to the ECV to learn more about the specific climate issues facing unincorporated communities there. The award of a TCC project development grant is an important step towards achieving climate justice in the ECV and in California, and will move forward active transportation improvements, planning activities for a community resilience center, and more. This is a long-awaited and much-needed investment to the unincorporated ECV, and we are excited to continue to work with community residents, Riverside County, and other partners to successfully implement the project development grant and hopefully apply for an implementation grant in the future. However, there are still communities across the San Joaquin Valley that need TCC investment. We were disappointed that Matheny Tract in Tulare County was not also awarded a TCC project development grant, but look forward to continuing to work with the county and SGC staff to build capacity to apply again in the future. In closing, thank you again to SGC staff for their continued support and hard work to reduce barriers for disadvantaged unincorporated communities. We are extremely excited and in strong support of the ECV PDG and urge your approval of the TCC staff recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. Our next speaker is Fabiola Moreno.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Fabiola Moreno Ruelas, and I'm here with the Office of Assembly Member Eduardo Garcia. And we would just like to thank everybody that came up from Coachella. Coachella está presente. Thank you so much for being here. We just wanted to thank the Strategic Growth Council and the whole TCC team for all of its work. We acknowledge that in order for people to thrive in their community, they deserve the access to clean, safe parks, reliable transportation, and dignified housing. Coachella Prospera, the vision will carry out the nexus between our ever-changing climate conditions and the opportunity that gives us to provide the people of Coachella with the best living conditions. We are grateful for the city of Coachella that received this grant, and we are excited to see these developments flourish. We want to take this opportunity to thank all of the community leaders who work on ensuring that these projects have a direct impact on Coachella residents. And we want to thank, of course, the city Coachella staff for working on these efforts and continuously pushing for the city of Coachella to get what they deserve. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kyle Haskala. If I could have Andre Gonzalez and Everett Au approach the podium as well. Thank you. Kyle, you may begin your comment.
Hello, good afternoon. Kyle Haskala with Environmental Health Coalition. First off, wow, really excited about this proposed award. This is an opportunity to make long languishing community projects in San Diego a reality, our region's first implementation grant. It's a little surreal. Barrio Logan, Logan Heights, and the surrounding communities, we have unacceptable rates of cancer, respiratory illness. Many people are struggling to make ends meet with skyrocketing rents, and the access to cultural gems like Chicano Park and our Portside communities is becoming ever more challenging. Longtime residents are being displaced, and despite all these challenges, you'll see and find a community that is resilient and determined to make a brighter future. This TCC grant will mark a turning point and a long overdue recognition of this community's fight against climate change and gentrification. It's fantastic that additional fourth community was awarded. When our team found out, we cried tears of joy, so I'm sure many of the other awardees felt similarly. Our San Diego Foundation, EHC, and all of our project partners worked extremely hard on this application. Honestly, we spent hundreds of hours, hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done, and all of this work is really rewarding to know that we'll get to work on these, implementing these projects. Really passionate to continue to work with Strategic Growth Council to make sure that communities that come after us don't have to work as hard as we did so that the state can meet their requirements, but we can ensure that the process is equitable and that the communities that need these resources the most can continue to get access to these resources, because it's really critical. That TA that was mentioned, also really excited about that. We definitely are looking forward to getting connected with that. Once again, so incredibly grateful and excited to roll up our sleeves and get to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Andre Gonzalez.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. My name is Andre Gonzalez, and I serve as the Vice Mayor of the City of Bakersfield with over 410,000 people, the 9th largest city in the state of California, and we continue to grow. Today certainly is a joyous day for all people of Bakersfield and people of the state of California to be able to award this grant. It's such an important community. I want to begin by thanking first and foremost the Strategic Growth Council staff. They have been engaged with us, city leaders and city staff and community stakeholders for years now. We were unsuccessful in our first application, and even through rejection, they rejected us in such a sweet way and such a supportive way. and encouraged us to continue to grow and and continue to move forward. And I will say, it was mentioned earlier regarding the site visits, how important and valuable they are, particularly for a community to feel seen when we often feel unseen, frankly, in the state. And so it was really valuable to play host twice now to SGC staff and board members, and really want to thank you for that. I also want to thank thank you for the process of community engagement and really making that a cornerstone of the application process. Through that, the city of Bakersfield has really learned a lot in terms of community engagement. And that process that we engaged in through TCC is now becoming a model for the city of Bakersfield, for which we can replicate in many different other processes. And so I want to thank you for that component as well. And then finally, I want to leave you with just a picture of the community that we're funding, and we're working towards transformation. Southeast Bakersfield is among the most disadvantaged communities in the city of Bakersfield in the state. There's so much need. But beyond all that, there's so many incredible community assets. Many of our best community leaders come from Southeast Bakersfield, including my mother, but also including incredible women like Miss Empress. And this investment really is an investment in many of our assets in our community. And that's what I'm looking forward to the most. So thank you again.
Thank you. Our last in-person public commenter on this item is Everett Au. Everett?
Last in a long line of gratitude. Thank you very much. My name is Everett Au with the San Diego Foundation. And on behalf of the Foundation, Environmental Health Coalition, and our partners, thank you so much for this opportunity for truly transformative change, specifically for the San Diego communities of Barrio Logan, Stockton, Grant Hill, Mount Hope, Sherman, Southcrest, and Shelltown. This is truly transformative work, and these communities will experience unprecedented investments in green spaces, housing and transportation, community-led food production and distribution, community centers, along with other climate resilient and community benefit projects. Each community is a cultural gem with a history of disinvestment and race-based land use and zoning that has led to disproportionate toxic pollution and chronic diseases like asthma. With our partners, and I'm so proud of this unique application that we all worked together to produce, that was truly community informed, led by a collective of regional nonprofits and over 400 community members who provided their time and their input into this whole process. This $22 million award is the first TCC implementation grant that would come to the San Diego region since the program was established. And I would be remiss to say that this work would not be possible without the persistence of residents laying the groundwork for this potential monumental win. The Environmental Health Coalition, who has been working to get the successful TCC application since 2019, and the TCC TA that really helped so much, that helped us get across the board. Together, our organizations are working together to build a healthier, more equitable, and climate resilient future in San Diego. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 6 virtual public commenters on this item. We'll begin with reading the names of 3, and if you can raise your hands when I call your name, our staff will unmute in the order that you've signed up. Stephen Hernandez, Penado Bugarin, and Ashwin Manthrip Ragada. If you could raise your hands, and we'll take Stephen's comment first.
Buenas tardes. This is Mayor Stephen Hernandez with the City of Coachella. I call in support of staff's recommendation, and I also call to really thank the SGC staff and the TCC program staff for working with us for the last 5 years, from our planning grant that we received in 2019 to working with us to create changes in the implementation criteria in 2021 and 2020 to our first application and your gracious no, and then the technical assistance to where we're at today. So this has been the last 5 years, and we're finally here, and we're very, very proud of the fact that we are being recommended for approval. As you know, the city of Coachella has seen hurricanes, windstorms, heat waves, and drought. And it is very, very important that we provide equity to suburban and rural areas. And we are very, very just grateful and thankful that the SGC is listening to us and that this process is definitely an iterative design, a collaborative design, and multi-benefit. I also have the privilege of being the Chief of Staff to County Supervisor V. Manuel Perez, and we are very, very proud as well of the recommendation for a planning grant and the unincorporated community. Rest assured that we will be working with all of our community partners to make sure that their concerns and their input is incorporated, and we look forward to working with you in the next few years as well to apply for an implementation grant for the unincorporated county. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hinado Bugarin. Hinado, if you are with us.
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. You may begin your comment.
Thank you. My name is Genaro Bugarin, Director at the Energy Coalition, the lead applicant for the Pomona Acts application. I want to start by thanking TCC staff, the Interagency Review Panel, and our Technical Assistance Advisor for their investment of time and effort as part of this grant application. It is a true honor to be recommended for a Transformative Climate Communities Round 5 award. Over the past 5 years, a group of committed community members and organizations have formed Pomona Acts, a collaborative effort brimming with passion and involving 14 local partners working on 9 impactful community projects. These projects will impact over 61,000 residents and result in a safer streets, increased public transit ridership, e-bike access, EV chargers, resilient and healthy homes that include solar, batteries, and cool roofs, community resilience centers, tree planting, and the expansion of a community urban farm. Overall, these initiatives are poised to address the challenges of climate change while capitalizing on opportunities to enhance public health, shared prosperity, and community identity across the project area. The Energy Coalition is proud to be part of this transformative endeavor, and we look forward to our collective action to make a clear, positive impact on people's lives in the city of Pomona. So thank you so much for the recommendation for award.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ashwin Manthripragada. Ashwin, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can. You may begin your comment.
Hi, my name is Ashwin Manthripragada. I'm the Director of Development at Quail Springs, a small nonprofit dedicated to environmental justice. I'd like to first thank the County of Santa Barbara, our lead applicant, and our other co-applicants, as well as the California Strategic Growth Council for this opportunity to address the needs of the Cuyama Valley. Not many people know where that is. We're based in a remote, hyper-rural region in the high desert of Southern California on Chumash land. Currently, we're facing some major threats, the threats of devastating groundwater depletion and overdraft, and the ongoing challenge of a lack of critical resources and infrastructure in a historically overlooked and underfunded region of Santa Barbara County. For our part at Quail Springs, this TCC grant is really exciting. It will allow us to conduct bilingual pilot programs in laundry to landscape gray water installations, as well as backyard composting installations, all the while accompanied by educational and skill building opportunities for our low-income community. The work serves 2 primary purposes. It provides the Cuyama Valley community with a direct relationship with water sequestration and groundwater recharge, and it also offers education and development of skills in environmental work, which are often available only to wealthier segments of our society, as we all know. So finally, this grant will also help our small nonprofit with essential capacity building resources. So we're extremely thankful for that, without which we couldn't do the environmental justice work we do in the Cuyama Valley. And hopefully, based on the success of this grant, we would have the opportunity to apply for an implementation grant in a couple of years. So with that, thank you and congratulations to all of the other recipients.
Thank you, Ashwin. Our last three virtual public commenters are Carmina Paz, Devin Deming, and Christine Vitarelli. Carmina, are you with us?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You may begin your comment.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Carmina Paz. I'm the program manager at the Urban Collaborative Project, CDC, based in Southeast San Diego, a historically redlined and under-resourced community. We're a local nonprofit that empowers Southeast San Diego community members to address disparities and equity together in the areas of health, housing, transportation, and infrastructure. We're also one of the recommended planning grant awardees. And we want to thank the TCC staff and the Strategic Growth Council for recommending and considering our TCC Planning Award for our community. This award will help advance community-led climate action planning in disadvantaged communities, namely Choya's View, Lincoln Park, and Emerald Hills, and which will also benefit neighboring communities. And it'll include planning for urban greening, environmental health education, clean mobility, as well as a community land trust, something that our residents are very interested in. And our community planning collaborative consists of CBOs and resident leaders, and we're just really excited and ready to get started on the work to bring our community's vision into fruition. And lastly, we also are very excited for our friends at the Environmental Health Coalition for their TCC Recommended Implementation Award with the San Diego Foundation, which will also bring in much needed investments to our neighbors in the historic barrios, such as Barrio Logan and Logan Heights. Our collective work will truly be transformative for San Diego's under-resourced and environmental justice communities, many of which fall within the federally designated San Diego Promise Zone. So thank you so, so much.
Thank you, Carmina. Christine Vitarelli, are you with us? Christine, are you able to hear us? Okay. We'll come back. Devin Deming, if you're available, can you hear us?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You may begin your comment.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Devin Deming, Deputy Executive Officer at Los Angeles County Metro. LA Metro is proud to be a part of the TCC grant application for Pomona Acts. We know that providing free transit passes to students, low-income residents, seniors, and disabled members of the Pomona community will reduce thousands of vehicle trips and hundreds of thousands of vehicle miles, thus reducing the amount of criteria pollutants and climate emissions from mobile sources in this community. Equally important, these passes will provide participants with access to job training and healthy food through God's Pantry, the Lopez Urban Farm, and other organizations collaborating under this grant. A 2015 Harvard Business School study showed that access to reliable transportation was the #1 benefit that could help move people out of poverty. And our own LA County studies have shown that students receiving free transit passes can have up to a 27% higher graduation rate than their peers at the same school. We thank you so much for considering Pomona Acts for a Transformative Climate Communities grant, and we look forward to working alongside our team member organizations to transform Pomona. I agree with the council member's comment earlier that people yet unborn are going to benefit from this great work, and I thank you for your consideration and support of these important programs.
Thank you. We've had one additional in-person public comment be submitted. Jeffrey Ross, if you could approach the podium. While Jeffrey's approaching, if Christine Vitarelli is on the line, we'd love to take your comment if you're available, Christine. Since Christine's not with us, Jeffrey, if you'd like to proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair, Council. Jeffrey Ross, Director of Government Services at Horn. Just want to take a moment to introduce myself. My team and I are really excited to be working with the TCC partners in the coming months to really connect you to EPA and hopefully other federal dollars over the coming year. We've had the opportunity to do this work in lots of locations, and we're very, very excited to be doing this with you. On a side note, as someone from the west side of Merced County, always excited to see investment in some of our more challenged and rural communities. So with that, I look forward to meeting you all, working with you all, and thank you, Council, for all of your hard work, and thank you, staff.
Thank you, Jeffrey. That concludes public comment on this item.
Well, thank you, members of the public, for your comments. It's incredibly informative. It's one thing to read application forms. It's another to hear directly from you in terms of the transformative impact of the program. Maybe we should get rid of application forms and they just come and testify. Jerry, are you good with that? Next time, change the guidelines. But really seriously, thank you. Incredibly passionate, including the young dancer from Bakersfield. Thank you for that testimony. I'm just going to ask Lynn if there's any response, if you want to say a few words.
Thank you, Chair Sefa. And I just wanted to speak to the all of the grantees and the applicants today. I think first of all, just immense congratulations to those who were awarded. I know that's it's a really important program, and I'm so excited to see what happens in your communities next. I also did want to speak to those who were not awarded as well, because I think when we designed the Connecting Communities program, which I know you've heard a lot about today, and I'm glad that Jeff is here to introduce himself personally, we were thinking about your stories, your experience. We know that every time somebody gets to an implementation grant, it comes from years of work, and especially those who've gone through the process with us to apply for an implementation grant, whether or not you were awarded or not, receive a planning grant, go through the project development process. All of that is incredibly valuable work that is going to be directly transferable to accessing the US EPA dollars. And so as we started to really understand this opportunity with what ultimately became a $2 billion one-time program through the US EPA, we thought of you, and we thought of all of the work that's gone into the TCC applications, and did not want to lose sight of that work and the opportunity for us to provide a supporting role in helping to translate those ideas into the federal application process. So I think what I want to commit to everybody is just that as we leave this room today, our team is going to be reaching out in just the next couple of days, really to gauge interest, to start to translate this work into what can be now, I think, a couple $100 million that we collectively as a state can be able to access through the federal programming. So it's new for us. This will be the first time that we've ever done anything like this. So we appreciate the patience and the collaboration as we take this next step together. But just really wanted to really speak especially to those who were not awarded today, or who have planning grants, or who are taking on an implementation grant less than they were anticipating, that this is our next step of our journey together, and we're really excited to take it. So thank you again for all the partnership and your work with the program. Thank you.
So with that, we'll take a motion and a second to approve the staff's recommendation for the TCC awards.
I would move that we approve staff's recommendation for these awards.
Secretary Crawford with the motion. Second. Cardenas on second. Can we have the votes?
Thank you. Director Sefa.
Enthusiastically, yes.
Public Member Cardenas.
Yes.
Secretary Crowfoot.
Yes.
Secretary Garcia.
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Kurgan.
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Musavi.
Yes.
Deputy Director Radhakrishna.
Yes.
Secretary Ross.
Yes.
Chancellor Munoz.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We'll now move to item 8, which is an equally important action that we'll be taking, and very important project as well. This is an action to approve the Sustainable Agricultural Lands Conservation Round 9 Awards. And again, I'll invite Lynn and Program Manager Shana Atherton Barr. Shana? Present the item, and then we'll have I actually would like to have public comments first for this in the interest of people who are here, and then we'll have council discussion after that.
Good afternoon, Chair Acefa and members of the council. My name is Shauna Atherton Bauer, and I'm the Land Conservation Program Manager at the Department of Conservation, which administers the Sustainable Agricultural Lands Conservation Program on behalf of the Strategic Growth Council. I'm here today to report to you on staff's recommendations for program awards. In the interest of time, I'm going to keep my presentation today on the recommended awards and their impact if approved. The slide deck and your packets include additional background information on the program's goals, application review timeline, application review process, and individual projects. As a reminder, there are 3 eligible project types available through SALC: planning, acquisitions, and capacity. Planning grants support the development and implementation of plans that encourage and facilitate protection of agricultural lands at risk of conversion at the city, county, and broader regional scales. These $500,000 grants are relatively small grants for the scale of the impact that they'll have. Acquisition grants focus on permanent conservation of agricultural lands that are at risk of conversion to non-agricultural uses, and that support infill and compact development at the parcel level to reinforce planning efforts and planning efforts to protect agricultural lands or to protect lands in areas with no strong agricultural land conservation strategies. And capacity building grants help organizations that are interested in applying for an acquisition grant to develop the policies and organizational structures needed to hold easements and to purchase land for conservation purposes, and to develop projects for the submission to the acquisition side of the program in future rounds. These also are relatively small grants for the impact that they'll have. This year, we received 8 planning applications covering 11 counties, 1 city, and 1 rancheria. We received 42 acquisition applications across 23 counties, including 36 easement applications and 6 fee applications. And we received 22 capacity applications across varying jurisdictions from the county level to statewide. Of the 8 planning projects that we received, staff recommend funding all 8. Of the 22 capacity applications we received, we recommend funding 19. And of the 42 acquisition applications we received, we're recommending funding for 38 from Siskiyou to San Diego counties. The suite of recommended projects would protect a total of 50,880 acres of agricultural land, resulting in the avoidance of over 4.6 million metric tons of carbon of CO2 equivalent over the next 30 years, as well as the protection of important wildlife habitat, water quality, and food security benefits. Of the 42 Round 9 acquisition applications that were submitted, 18 of those were developed using SALT capacity funds. 16 of those are being recommended for award. Of the 8 planning applications that are recommended for award, 6 were developed using the assistance of SALC's third-party technical assistance provider, and 1 will be building on and implementing some of the work that they developed using a Round 6 grant. And of the recommended capacity applications, 12 have never applied for a SALC acquisition grant before, which is really exciting. These are acquisition applications. The recommendations include 8 acquisition projects that will provide secure land tenure to new farmers and ranchers, military veterans, or farmers and ranchers who live in priority populations. And these recommendations also include 1 planning grant to a tribe, 4 capacity grants to tribes or nonprofits serving tribes, as well as our first acquisition grants to tribes and nonprofits serving tribes. These grants in particular reflect efforts by program staff over multiple years to reduce barriers to access for the program. That said, we still have a lot to learn, and we continue to invite conversations with tribes as we enter round 10 of our guidelines development. And we will continue to work to improve how we engage with tribes and improve access to our program in ways that acknowledge and respect the complex dynamics in this space. So I'd like to spend the rest of my time spotlighting a few of the projects we're recommending for funding, since we don't have time to look at every project. These are projects that staff were particularly impressed with across each component. So first, San Benito County planning. The San Benito County does not currently have an agricultural element and is facing significant development pressures from the north. The project would update San Benito County's 2035 general plan with an agricultural element containing policies that promote effective agricultural and working lands conservation throughout the county. The aim of this effort is to reduce the threat of conversion of agricultural lands to non-agricultural uses, as well as identify various co-benefits that can be achieved through the conservation and sustainable management of the county's agricultural lands. And that project was developed with the assistance of our third-party technical assistance provider. The next planning grant I'd like to spotlight is the Southern California Association of Governments grant. This project would focus on the development of a natural and agricultural lands economic benefit study to provide an analysis of economic, public health, and resilience benefits as key environmental services provided by natural and agricultural lands in Southern California. This research is intended to inform regional and local planning efforts to preserve and enhance natural and agricultural lands, and to secure funding through the development of a user-friendly conservation and climate resilience toolkit. So we have two acquisition applications I'd like to spotlight. The first is a fee acquisition for a 323-acre property located in Butte County, north of Oroville, and adjacent to the North Table Mountain Ecological Reserve. This property is a special gathering place for Indigenous women and continues to be culturally significant to the Maidu tribes of the area for its great diversity of native foods, basketry materials, and medicines. Through the purchase of this property, California Open Lands will make this land, or continue to make this land, available to those tribes so that it can serve as a gathering place for tribes and expand its function as a repository of native biodiversity. The property will also serve as a teaching campus to train tribal youth and restoration professionals in Indigenous traditional ecological knowledge-based methodologies. And this application was made possible with around 8 planning or capacity grant. The next project I'd like to spotlight is an easement grant to fund Sacramento Valley Conservancy's purchase of an easement across 192 acres of irrigated land located within a mile of Rancho Cordova and Elk Grove. This project will ensure continued land access for Hmong growers who lease portions of the property to grow culturally significant vegetables. And this project was also developed using a capacity grant. And finally, I wanted to spotlight one of our capacity grants proposed for award. This application was from the RCD of Monterey County, which is working to acquire and protect land to serve as long-term conservation practice demonstration sites, as well as to support small socially disadvantaged farmers that have difficulty accessing land for farming. This grant will help the RCD of Monterey County to develop a land acquisition program, including setting goals for the program, putting in place policies and procedures to support land acquisitions, participating in professional development opportunities, and conducting outreach with potential partners to understand their needs and guide their work. This will put them in a position to access additional funding to develop projects and ultimately access bulk acquisition funding to acquire agricultural land and easements. So very quickly, this year's recommendations reflect the hard work of staff, particularly over the last 4 years, to expand the program's outreach, reduce barriers to access, and support efforts to address inequities in land access. They also build on 8 years of work throughout the state to protect and conserve important agricultural lands generally. The map on your screen shows the extent of previously awarded planning grants in blue and the extent of this year's recommended projects spotlighted with the green squares. And will expand the planning work across 29 counties, 7 cities, and 2 tribes. And this map shows that our this round's recommendations for Acquisition grants would expand the total agricultural lands to be conserved by the program to approximately 244,000 acres. And this map shows the locations of all of the previously awarded grants, rounds 1 through 8 in bluish black, and the round 9 proposed awards in green. And that brings me to the staff recommendation. Oh, sorry, actually next steps. Before I wrap up with the recommendation, briefly to touch on next steps. Next year will be the 10th year of SALC. We plan to bring round 10 SALC guidelines to the council for approval in April. And to get to that point, we'll publish a draft for public comment in February and hold workshops in March. And once the guidelines are up, we'll be sending out an e-blast to all of our stakeholders to let them know that they can provide comments. So folks should stay tuned for that. And that brings me to our recommendation. The proposed action before you today is to approve SALC staff's recommendation for awards for round 9 of the Sustainable Agricultural Lands Conservation Program. I'll now turn it back to Chair Acefa following a reminder regarding public comments from Matt.
Great, thank you, Shanna. Before Matt initiates public comments, can we forward a motion and then we'll have public comments, then we'll have.
Wade had his hand up.
I would just make a friendly amendment to have public comment before we consider discussion and a motion.
Yeah,
actually,
that's
so that we, okay,
Yeah.
so not to make a motion, but to have public comment and then discussion and potential motion. I just think it's helpful to understand the public comment so we can reflect on that as we discuss.
Sure, that would be fine. We could do that, right, Matt? Yeah. So with that, could you initiate the public comments?
Thank you. We have approximately 23 public comments on this item, and we will begin with in-person public comments. I'm going to read the first 3 individuals signed up for in-person public comment. If you could come to the podium in the order that I have called your name: Jason Landers, Paul Dunbaum, and Heidi Krolik. If you could approach the podium, please.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Jason Landers, and I am the Conservation Program Manager at Bear Yuba Land Trust in Grass Valley. I manage the Conservation Easement Program, and I'm here today to express BYLT's excitement and gratitude to the Department of Conservation and the Strategic Growth Council. DOC recommended 2 of our projects for funding. The first is the acquisition of an agricultural conservation easement on Lazy Valley Ranch, which is a 476-acre working ranch in Penn Valley. The multiple benefits that projects like this bring to the state not only protect local food security, but also help us reach our 30 by 30 goals outlined by the state, such as protecting important habitats, like the blue oak woodlands found at Lazy Valley Ranch. We have also been recommended for capacity funding for our Central Sierra Agricultural and Cultural Protection Program. This capacity funding is crucial for the land trust community and our tribal partners. This funding allows us to bring high quality conservation projects to agencies for funding, and without it, the pace and scale of our work would suffer. The SALC program is vital to our conservation work. This grant program and its funded projects have encouraged more landowners to work with the land trust community, and it has made it possible for BYLT to acquire more agricultural conservation easements and limit sprawling development in our community. This program also enables us to help landowners in our community sustain their agricultural operations while protecting wildlife habitat. Further, we're able to deepen our connection and partnership with our tribal partners. Our work would not be possible without the staff at DOC and the SGC, as well as your continued leadership. I want to specifically thank Matt Donahue, Kane Sylvie, and Shanna Atherton at the DOC for their guidance and feedback in developing these projects. And I want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak and your consideration today.
Thank you, Jason. Next speaker is Paul Dunbaum.
Hi, I'm Paul Danbaum. I'm from D5 Farms. I'm from a centennial farming family. I would like to just extend my thanks to the board and the staff for allowing us to participate in this. I don't know what you would call it, but For 5 generations, my family has cared and been stewards to this ranch along the Merced River. As Secretary Ross knows, production agriculture is tough. And having the money to preserve this, I didn't know how we would do it. It's hard enough to make the generational jumps. From being the 5th generation on the bottom, it's tough. I can't say it's tough, how hard it is. Also, seeing how beautiful the ranch is and growing up on that ranch, I wanted to maintain, it feels like a part of California gold. The staff that was out there, they saw the oak trees. They saw the oak trees that my dad pointed out that, were planted when the kids were born. And to be able to preserve this ranch and to preserve this piece of like all of our California heritage, because it belongs to all of us. And by being accepted and being nominated to be accepted, it's allowed us a vehicle which is going to preserve it for not just my generation, but for generations to come. And to just preserve a piece of all of our heritage is pretty darn cool. And I sure do appreciate you guys approving my project. The staff has been great to work with. The whole process is, it's been tough, but anything in life that's tough is worth it. Thanks a lot, guys. And like I said, I sure do appreciate being involved.
Thank you, Paul. Our next speaker is Heidi Krolik. And if I could have Tracy Ellison, JT Reeser, and Scott Lathrop approach the podium while Heidi makes her comment, I would appreciate it.
Thank you for that. Heidi Krolik with the Trust for Public Land. Good afternoon, council members. Really great to be with you all and just thrilled to be here. Wanted to just really start off and express my gratitude for the SALT program and Department of Conservation staff who have worked tirelessly alongside us with lots of questions, some late night questions as we've been preparing our application. So just really want to acknowledge and thank you for your expertise and leadership. This funding is really, really important. It will make possible the conservation of an over 5,000 acre ranch through a conservation easement acquisition that's just outside of Oregon House in Yuba County. I think we may be the only ones representing Yuba County today here in the slate of proposals. The property contains a regenerative grass-fed cattle, sheep, and pig operation. It's been owned and operated by the same family since the 1940s. And the next generation of family members is taking on this regenerative ranch, the cattle operations, and really sustainably managing this property. Really creating that sort of lasting legacy is really central and at the heart of the family's interests. At over 5,000 acres, this property also contains just phenomenal natural resource values. It abuts the Yuba River and beautiful oak woodland habitat, and really creates this fills this important gap in a network of about 18,000 acres of public and privately conserved lands. So with that, just really want to acknowledge and thank you all for your consideration. Thank you for recognizing the importance of this project. And on behalf of the Trust for Public Land, on behalf of the family, and also our local land trust partner, Bear Yuba Land Trust, really thank you for your consideration today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Heidi. Tracy Ellison.
Yes, good afternoon. Tracy Ellison, Conservation Director at Solano Land Trust. And I come today with gratitude and impact. I first want to say it's nothing like standing in the room when a landowner comes up and speaks to you. Solano Land Trust has had an opportunity through the SALT program to have landowners stand up in front of you and to have staff from SGC and from DOC on our properties. And I appreciate you, but we appreciate landowners. So we thank them. I'm here today to say we're so proud Solano County has applied for the planning grant and is on the list today to receive one. Solano Land Trust, again, has had an opportunity to stand up here multiple times. I've been on the first call for round one. So I have learned about the SALT program from day one. And really encourage our participation with our cities and our county planning. And the opportunity has come. Solano County is in need of having this large conversation about what do we do with our agricultural land, with the space between our cities, which we still have, And so we thank you. So I'm up here for gratitude and to also talk about the impact. Something that I say every time that I'm up here is this doesn't happen next year if we don't all come to the table and have this money available year after year after year. And this program has shown that it can do that with an impact like the figures that Shauna gave you today. So it takes time to work with landowners to make this decision. I know this landowner didn't come by it lightly. And so we need that money and that security year in and year out. And I don't know how I step up here without saying that my hometown is Tranquility, California. So I think Mr. Hayes from the Resource District has probably stepped out. If not, I'm going to chase him down. But I come from Tranquility, California. And to step in here today and see that there's impact across the state and the work that the state of California does for communities, I'm thankful. So thank you again.
Thank you, Tracy. Our next speaker is JT Reeser, and then Scott Lathrop will be our final in-person public commenter.
Hello, my name is JT Reiser with California Rangeland Trust. California Rangeland Trust is a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to serve the land, people, and wildlife by conserving California's working rangelands. To date, we've conserved nearly 390,000 acres of valuable rangeland conservation easements that will perpetually benefit California's agricultural industry, farming and ranching families, clean air and water, wildlife habitat, and so much more. On behalf of my entire organization, I'd like to extend a big thank you to Strategic Growth Council and the Department of Conservation staff for contributing to our success. To date, California Rangeland Trust has conserved over 21,000 acres of land utilizing SALC funding across 9 conservation easements. Over the years, SALC funding has been awarded to an additional 15 in-progress California Rangeland Trust conservation easement projects, totaling over 33,500 acres. California Rangeland Trust has been able to leverage these grant funds with bargain sales and federal or other state funds to facilitate the conservation easement closing process. Without the council's continued support and the department's ongoing collaboration, California Rangeland Trust would not be able to achieve a more sustainable agricultural future for future generations of Californians. In summary, California Rangeland Trust is humbled, grateful, and excited to receive these Round 9 funding awards. Thank you.
Thank you, JT. Scott Lathrop.
Good afternoon. First of all, Secretary Crowfoot, it's nice to see you again. My name is Scott Lathrop. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Yek Tichu Tichu Yek Talihini nonprofit. I believe we're the only tribe that is actually being recommended for a capacity grant. And we just wanted to be here in person to thank everyone for that recommendation. It's a very important matter to us. Our tribe there in San Luis Obispo, Central Coast area, we've been striving for the last 250 years to take stewardship back of our homelands or a portion of our homelands. I know that we spoke earlier, other people spoke about land ownership. Typically, tribal groups don't look at land ownership, but it seems like in the Western world, that's what you have to do in order to actually have the main stewardship of that land. So we really appreciate the opportunity. I will also want to say is that your council is only the second state entity that's we've actually received dollars from. We really appreciate that. We will not forget that. And I can assure you that the dollars that you have will be allocating hopefully soon will be used well, and you'll have a really strong partner in our overall tribe. And we truly, truly say thank you. And on behalf of our council and our membership and our tribal chair, we're elated, and we look forward to future. We really enjoyed seeing today all the other different levels and tiers, and I can guarantee you we'll be there. Thank you.
That concludes in-person public comment on this item. We will now move to virtual public comment. We have 16 active public commenters and some we're working to establish communication with. We'll get to them at the end. I'm going to start by reading the names of 3 public commenters, and if those public commenters could raise their hand in the Zoom chat. Judy Schultz, Lynn Overtree, and Janet Voris. And we'll begin with Judy. Judy, are you with us?
Yes.
We can hear you. You may begin your comment.
Good afternoon. My name is Judy Scholes, and I'm here with my husband, Kevin. We are from Mendocino County, and we wanted to take a brief moment to express our gratitude to the Strategic Growth Council and SALC members, including Melinda Kelly, who helped steward us through the grant process. We appreciate all the great, wonderful work the council and SALC are doing to protect agricultural lands for future generations. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Judy. Our next commenter is Lynn Overtree. Lynn, are you able to hear us?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. You may begin your comment.
Yes. Thank you, council members, and for this opportunity to comment. My name is Lynn Overtree. I'm the Executive Director of the San Benito Agricultural Land Trust. We support funding the San Benito County Resource Management Agency for the San Benito County Sustainable Agricultural and Land Conservation Plan. As a grateful recipient of past SALC grants, we know the value this funding has toward protecting agriculture. I want to thank Shauna for spotlighting this project today. That was exciting to see. And I was fortunate to be part of developing this grant. And as Shauna said, the county received technical assistance from your program. And I want to acknowledge Amy McPhee and Serena Unger for their outstanding guidance through the grant application process. Agriculture is #1 industry in San Benito County, and yet our general plan addresses agriculture through the land use element, along with development and energy policy. We believe that the county could be much more effective at protecting agricultural lands by having this dedicated agricultural element within the general plan. As our land trust is growing, we are receiving increasing interest from agricultural landowners who want to conserve their land. We also hear frustration from residents who don't know how to find that right balance between providing the mandated housing that is needed, and we heard so much about importance of housing in the earlier session, with the importance of also protecting high quality farmland. And we believe that the San Benito Agricultural Land Trust can be more effective in its agricultural conservation efforts when working within the county ag element. So we are very grateful for the county for including us in this planning effort, and we look forward to having a more effective plan and better conservation going forward. We encourage the Strategic Growth Council to vote in support of funding this planning grant. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Our next speaker is Janet Voris. Janet, are you with us?
Yes, I am here.
We can hear you. You may begin your comment.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon and thank you, council members. My name is Janet Boris and I am the acquisition manager for Placer Land Trust. On behalf of our staff, I'd like to say thank you to the Department of Conservation staff and the Strategic Growth Council for the recommendation of our Upper Ranch Conservation Easement Project, which is located outside the city of Lincoln in rural Placer County. The property is owned by 9 family members, which has been in their family since the 1800s. We've been working with the family for many years to develop this project. As you can imagine, it's not easy getting 9 family members to come to an agreement on much things, especially regarding their land. And many of them don't live near their family property any longer. But we're happy that they have decided to protect their land, and we're really excited to work with them. We appreciate that the Strategic Growth Council and the Department of Conservation continues to provide these much needed funding opportunities through the South program so that land trusts can work with landowners to permanently protect important agriculture land across the state. I also want to acknowledge the recommendation for the planning grant that was submitted by the County of Placer for their Agricultural Resilience Initiative. Placer Land Trust strategizes and partners with staff at Placer County regularly on protecting important ag land in our rapidly growing county. So thank you for recommending their planning grant as well. We appreciate your consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Janet. Our next three speakers are Camille Polson, Lauren Miller, and Steve Schweigert. Camille, are you with us?
Yes.
We can hear you. You may begin your comment.
Mr. Chairman, this is Mark Del Piero. I'm the CEO for the Ag Land Trust in Monterey County. Ms. Polson's our Director of Finance. I'm going to make comments on behalf of the Ag Land Trust. In 1984, we organized ALT here in Monterey County because we recognized the need to try and limit the magnitude of urban sprawl that was eating up much of the prime farmland in the Salinas Valley. As of March of 2024, we will be celebrating our 40th anniversary and having permanently preserved through easements or fee acquisitions over 50,000 acres of prime farmland here in the Salinas Valley and in Central California. We'd like to recognize Shanna Atherton Bauer and Melinda Kelly and Tim Bryant and Artemis Mosier and Cassidy McSurdy, all of whom contributed greatly to assisting us in submitting the applications that are recommended for approval. One of the applications is a capacity grant that's going to allow us to expand our staff and our abilities to serve people who are interested in filing future applications. In fact, we have 8 people who are lined up currently and want to apply for grants in the 2024 round. So our efforts are realizing significant benefits in terms of farmland preservation here in Central California. Heather Golden Jensen, our chair of our board, and Camille Polson, our director of finance, are both here with me. One thing that I'd like to say, besides thank you, in anticipation of your affirmative acceptance of your staff's recommendation, is that Caltrans now, because of a lot of the projects they're building, are required to acquire farmland mitigation. And unfortunately, sometimes they're sitting on that farmland as opposed to transferring it to agricultural conservation organizations that can use that farmland, place minority farmers in positions of agriculture. And if the Strategic Growth Council could do anything in terms of issues outside of today's discussion, it would be to make sure that Caltrans
Mark, thank you for your thoughts. Can we have your final comment?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Lauren Miller.
Conservation Director with Sierra Foothill Conservancy, a regional local nonprofit land trust serving Madera, Mariposa, Fresno, and Eastern Merced counties. We're thrilled to see our Rock Mountain Ranch conservation easement on the Strategic Growth Council's agenda for funding. And we want to specifically note to the council that SFC is a recipient of a 2022 SALC capacity grant. And this particular project, Rock Mountain Ranch, is a direct result of that capacity funding from DOC, and this project would not be here without the extra help that we needed from the capacity funds to get it to this stage. And shout out to Melinda Kelly for her help on the capacity funding side. Additionally, this capacity funding and this funding toward Rock Mountain Ranch are and will continue to enhance SFC's effort to connect and protect working lands across our 4-county region. Particularly, SALC funds have been critical to reigniting our work in Fresno County to leverage our most well-established focus area, the San Joaquin River Conservation Corridor, now over 30,000 acres of protected land. And thank you to the council and the hardworking staff at DOC, especially Artemis, for her help on this particular grant application. And can't tell you how important the SALC program is for us and the future of working lands conservation in this state. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next commenter is Steve Schweigert, and I'd like to ask Mike Cruz-Sarate, James Aldern, and Rob Haswell to raise your hands in the chat after Steve. Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is Steve Schweigert. I'm acquisition specialist with Sacramento Valley Conservancy, your local land trust here in Sacramento. I want to take a moment to emphasize the importance of the SALT program for our region. Sacramento is one of the highest growth areas in the entire country, with sprawl fast consuming what was productive farmland. This farmland also provides critical habitat for wildlife, particularly raptors, such as our Swainson's hawk, which has allowed us to protect much of the preserves that are currently in place around Sacramento. And we're trying to create a buffer to prevent the urban sprawl from consuming the Casonas River as well. Our region only has 7% of the land protected for our 30 by 30 goals. And so the ag land has an important role in protecting the biodiversity of our region. With the capacity award that we received last year, SVC has been able to convene partners and generate multiple projects for funding, not only from SALT, but from Wildlife Conservation Board and Tribal Nature-Based Solutions as well. The Becky Wagel Preserve that was highlighted earlier will be our first SALT acquisition grant that's in our buffer area. The landowner has more than 2,000 acres available within the path of development and is using this as a test case. If this project goes well, then we'll be able to continually access additional funding to protect lands around Sacramento. I want to thank you for making these opportunities available and look forward to building on the successes with the great guidance of the DOC staff. And we're working with Artemis and Tim primarily. Thanks again.
Thank you for your comment. I'd like to give the opportunity to speak to Mike Kuzarate. Mike, are you able to hear us? Okay, we'll move on to Jared Aldern. Jared, are you with us?
I'm here. Yes.
We can hear you. You may begin your comment.
Great. Yes, my name is Jared Aldern, and I am a grant specialist with Cold Springs Rancheria. I'm here to read a statement from Cold Springs Tribal Chairman Shane L. Ratchford, because Chairman Ratchford isn't able to attend. He writes, I am honored to write to you on behalf of Cold Springs Rancheria to express our deep appreciation for the recommendation to fund our application to the Sustainable Agricultural Lands Planning Program. We are grateful for the state of California's commitment to government relations and its acknowledgement of the vital role tribes play in sustainable agricultural practices. This award recommendation is a significant step forward for our tribe, and we would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to the Strategic Growth Council for their careful consideration. The state's dedication to supporting agricultural conservation through grants for easement and fee title acquisitions, capacity building, and planning is crucial in safeguarding our precious agricultural lands. During the proposal writing stage, we benefited greatly from the technical assistance provided by UC Cooperative Extension and the SALT team. Their guidance and expertise were invaluable, helping us craft a comprehensive and effective proposal. We extend our gratitude to UCCE and the SALT team for their ongoing commitment to supporting sustainable agriculture. It's imperative to underscore the importance of directing planning dollars into the underserved Central Valley, where we're facing a significant threat of conversion to housing development. And in conclusion, we are truly honored to be part of the 9th round of the SALT program and look forward to further collaboration with the state of California and other partners.
Thank you for your comment. Our next commenter is Rob Haswell. Rob, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm with you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You may begin your comment.
Great. Thank you. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Rob Haswell, and I'm the Executive Director of the Placer County Visitors Bureau. I'm speaking here today in support of the Placer County Agricultural Resilience Initiative Planning Grant. I want to thank you so much, the staff, for recommending this effort. There's no doubt that Placer's ongoing 150-year agricultural history is essential to its quality of life, and this planning document will help codify the future of agriculture and critical planned conservation efforts as the county updates its general plan in the coming years. With our growing ag tourism sectors, including an emerging wine and ale trail, farm stands, and farmers markets, and a growing crop to tabletop culinary movement, we believe smart planning is essential if we're to preserve and protect Placer County quality of life and continue to value farming and agriculture as a viable way of life. So thank you guys so much for this very important initiative, and we're proud to be a supporting entity of this effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next three speakers are Lisa Lindman, Tessa Blevins, and Mark Moore. Lisa, are you able to hear us? We'll move to Tessa Blevins. Lisa, if you can raise your hand if you're under another name on the chat, we'd appreciate it. Tessa Blevins, are you with us?
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you. You may begin your comment.
All right, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to comment. I'm the Director of Conservation at the Shasta Land Trust located in Northern California. The Shasta Land Trust would like to express great appreciation for the Department of Conservation SALT program and the continued support of conservation efforts across California and Shasta County. Our land trust works with willing landowners to conserve lands via conservation easements in Shasta County, and the benefits these protected lands provide to our community are immeasurable. To explain how these programs have had a dramatic impact on our organization, I would like to highlight our recent history of accomplishments. With only 2 full-time employees in 2018, our land trust formed partnerships with the Trust for Public Land and local foundation to submit 2 SALT grant applications. For this grant round, a total of 1,525 acres were protected. In the following year, our land trust board of directors volunteered their time to put together a grant application through the Prop 8 Working Land and Riparian Corridor program, which provided the capacity dollars necessary to grow our organization. With a new conservation project manager on staff, within 1 year, we completed 2 donated easements for working ranches, and 3 new grant projects were submitted through the SALT program. We were grateful to be awarded all 3 projects, increasing our acreage by 2,464 acres. Then in 2021 and 2022, 4 more grant applications for conservation easement acquisitions were awarded. With those completed, we increased our total acreage protected through the DOC's programs to 7,115 acres. With those 9 new conservation easement acquisitions completed, the Land Trust submitted our 2nd round of capacity funded and received the award. With really amazing additional staff, we were able to put together the 2 grant applications that total 5,641 acres that are being voted on today, and we will continue to apply. With the help of the SALT program, we now have 6 full-time staff and plan on addressing a backlog of potential projects, many of which are on working ranches. We'd like to thank the opportunity, and we will keep working on this cause.
Thank you. Our next speaker, if he's with us, is Mark Moore. Mark Moore, are you with us and able to hear me? Seeing as Mark is not with us, I'll move back to Mike Kusarate. Mike, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You may begin your comment.
Well, yes, I'd like to start by saying good afternoon and thank you, Strategic Growth Council members and your wonderful staff. I am Michael Kusarate, board member of and speaking on behalf of the Northern Chumash Tribal Council, indigenous to the San Luis Obispo County area. We wish to express our gratitude for recommending us for the Sustainable Agricultural Lands Conservation Round 9 Awards. This is really, truly a significant and profound moment for us. These land acquisition and capacity grants will enable our community to reconnect with Hutosh, Mother Earth, and open a new chapter in our efforts to protect and care for our ancestral lands, to carry on the legacy of sustainable land stewardship that our ancestors have passed on to us since time immemorial. Often, the lack of capacity limits our potential and ability to pursue the array of projects that we envision. These awards will go a long way in filling that gap, providing our people with what they need to make a meaningful impact for our community. So the Northern Chimash Tribal Council is absolutely excited about this opportunity, and thanks you very much for your recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next three speakers are Jose Bear, Tara Fausch-Moore, and Gurumantra Khalsa. Jose, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
You may begin your comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good
You may begin your
afternoon.
comment.
My name is Jose Bear. I'm with Rancho Arbolado in Gaviota, Santa Barbara County, and I'd like to express my gratitude to the council for your consideration of this project. And I'd like to say thank you to the California Rangeland Trust for shepherding us through this process. This award will allow us to preserve the land we love in perpetuity, facilitate succession planning, and set aside some capital for some necessary improvements to our cattle operation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Our next speaker is Tara Fausch-Moore. Tara, are you with us? We can come back to you. Gurumantra Khalsa, are you with us? Gurumantra? We'll move along to Trina Cunningham. Trina Cunningham, if you could raise your hand in the chat.
All right, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You may begin your comment.
All right, well, greetings, and I too would like to express my appreciation for this opportunity. My name is Trina Cunningham. I am a tribal water and fire cultural practitioner, continuously living and working in my homelands of the Upper Feather River watershed. I want to extend my gratitude to this Strategic Growth Council, to the Department of Conservation, and also to California Open Lands for empowering tribal leadership to form a collaborative effort to reach tribal goals. I have followed in my father's footsteps and have dedicated my lifetime to practices such as cultural burning, tending, harvesting, learning language and knowledge taught generationally. And I've faced an incredible amount of frustration and dead ends with truly integrating this Indigenous knowledge into process of decision-making and implementation of planning and projects. Yet I've continue to seek vessels and partnerships. And by vessels, there really hasn't been a container to hold space for unrecognized tribal community members and community activists such as myself and some of the other tribal leadership involved in this collaborative. Through this recommendation of funding for this collaboration, I'm really excited because this is an opportunity to restore the tribal networks of learning, engaging, communication, and supporting each other that were traditional to us. So I want to, again, express my appreciation and much gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go back to Tara Fausch-Moore.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You may begin your comment.
Okay, thank you. I'm Tara Fouchmore. I'm Tribal Secretary for the Southern Sierra Miwok Nation, here with our chairwoman, Sandra Chapman. The Southern Sierra, we are commenting on specifically the North Fork Mono Tribe's acquisition project. The Southern Sierra Miwok Nation, a landless tribe, expresses profound disappointment with the state's lack of tribal consultation on fee acquisition projects. Specifically, we find it fundamentally unethical for the state to gift sacred sites to unaffiliated tribes without communicating with the most likely descendant peoples. The land recommended for acquisition to the North Fork Mono tribe is indisputably recognized as Miwok ancestral territory. Despite Chairman Good's personal ties to the property, the North Fork Mono people are not affiliated with this region. This land encompasses Miwok sacred sites of incredible historic and cultural significance, in fact, one of the most prominent villages in the entire county. The intention of the SALC program is to protect agricultural land use for its perpetuity, yet the North Fork Mono tribal members do not live or work locally. Who then can you guarantee will commit to stewarding these traditional resources in even 10 years, 25 years, 50 years? The SSMN are the only tribe inherently dedicated to that mission. We're grateful to Chairman Good and his wife for stewarding this land with such care, and we see value in intertribal collaboration to ensure its protection. But sadly, no effort has been made to communicate with us or afford the respect of government-to-government relations. The SALC program recently expanded its definition of agricultural uses. Why did they do that? This program will fail to achieve the goals of facilitating access and encouraging partnership. And we, as SSMN people, need formal assurance that we will not be barred access to our sacred sites. A simple solution is to require a collaborative agreement as a deliverable of the grant agreement. Without this bare minimum stipulation, the SSMN cannot support state funding of this project.
Thank you for your comment. We're going to return to Gurumantra Khalsa. Gurumantra, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You may begin your comment.
I'm Gurumantra Khalsa. I'm the executive director of the World Be Well organization. We're a community development organization focused on land conservation as the basis for food systems and eco services businesses that we incubate into worker-owned cooperatives. It's the critical need for land, especially in our region, is like undescribable. We're about the size, our metro area, about the size of Phoenix. And since 1984, we've traded 191,000 acres of prime farmland and replaced them with 40 square miles of warehouses. So we've got to do something quickly here. And we're thrilled that you've recognized other Riverside County folks like the Oswint Land Trust and the Native American Land Conservancy, and that you've given SCAG some planning money to actually look at some new metrics that we can use to speed this process up. You know, one of our strategies is working in our urban area to implement SB 1000, where they have to have a food safety element or food resilience in their plan. Well, the number one thing they've got to do is start to identify parcels that we could possibly get conserved. And we're otherwise working with developers to help find those lands so we don't have to compete with $1 million land prices for warehouses. So this is already being discussed throughout our SURF process conversations in Riverside and San Bernardino County. The need for land and conserved land is sparking more conversations throughout these regional collaborations. And it's no secret that Coachella's on the list. It's like everybody knows everybody's in play in this region, and it's really gratifying that you've listened to what we've needed down here since we've been underfunded for quite some time. And I do want to shout out to Shauna and Artemis and Tim for the nuances behind the scene of how a lot of this stuff works, since I'm relatively new at this. And you know, they actually sparked some of our successes with having these conversations going to the broader region. So thanks for your consideration, and we won't let you down.
Thank you. Our next three speakers are Kim Marucci, Ariel Goodspeed, and Amy Holman. Kim, are you with us?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Kim Marucci, Land Transaction Manager with the Land Trust for Santa Barbara County. Thank you so much to the Strategic Growth Council and to the SALT team for all their support and recommendation for the award of the Land Trust easement acquisition on the Rancho Dos Alamos property. With your support, this strategically important 587 acres of active agricultural land currently facing imminent threat of sprawling development and conversion to non-agricultural uses will be protected. The Land Trust for Santa Barbara County is also very excited to see SALT program support of several other projects with other agencies within Santa Barbara County. Your support is deeply appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Our next speaker is Ariel Goodspeed. Ariel, are you with us? We'll come back to Ariel. Amy Holman, are you with us? We'll take either Amy or Ariel at this point. Amy or Ariel, are you with us?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You may begin your comment.
Hello, my name is Ariel Goodspeed, Principal Planner with the County of San Benito Resource Management Agency. I just wanted to express my gratitude to the Department of Conservation for the recommendation of funding to San Benito County for the SALT Planning Grant. We know the value this funding has toward protecting San Benito County's agriculture. The project aims to update San Benito County's 2035 general plan with an agricultural element inclusive of policies that promote effective agricultural and working lands conservation throughout the county. Additionally, the San Benito County SALT project will deliver a collaborative-based work plan featuring a robust community engagement plan, emphasizing input from priority populations. The county also wants to say thank you to the following who have supported our grant application, including San Benito County Agricultural Land Trust, the Amamutsan Tribal Band, San Benito County Resource Conservation District, and the Latino Coalition of San Benito County. Furthermore, we want to thank you for all the support services from Amy McPhee and Serena Unger. Thank you for your time and consideration today.
Thank you, Ariel. After Amy Holman, I'll read our final three virtual public commenters, Ed King, Mel Figueroa, and Bettina Rosmarino. Amy Holman, are you with us?
Hi, thank you. My name's Amy Holman. I'm the Program Director for Lassen Land and Trails Trust, and we submitted a capacity grant which has been recommended for funding through the SALT program. We would like to thank the Council for recognizing the importance of agriculture in addressing the goals of the SGC, and especially for recognizing the need for capacity grants to support entities working around the state to conserve important agricultural lands. This sort of financial support is very difficult to find, and this funding will allow Lassen Land and Trails Trust to expand the pace, quality, and quantity of our conservation projects in Lassen and Modoc counties. Thank you, and thank you to all the DOC staff for your support of our work.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ed King.
Hello, good afternoon, council members. My name is Ed King. I'm the Solano County Agricultural Commissioner. Thank you for considering support of our planning proposal to develop a strategic initiative for Solano County agriculture. Solano is home to the most diverse population in the state. We also have a very diverse agricultural land base featuring multiple distinct agricultural regions. And agricultural economic development is a real focal point of our proposal. We believe that well-planned, community-based economic development is crucial for protecting our working lands, our ag communities, and our overall community health and well-being. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed. Mel Figueroa, are you with us?
Yes.
You may
Can you
begin
hear
your
me?
comment.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, this was a very, Amel Figueroa, Conservation Director of California Open Lands. We'd like to express our heartfelt gratitude to the SGC and deep, deep thanks to Shauna, Artemis, and Cassidy with our capacity grant to purchase this very special piece of land on North Table Mountain in Butte County. This was a unique project bringing together Maidu women practitioners from 6 different Maidu tribes to take care of this shared area that's precious to many tribes. Thank you for helping us through this process and getting through some of the things that will help greater and access to tribes and tribal practitioners in the future. I yield the rest of my time to our Executive Director, Allie Metters-Knight.
Yes, good afternoon. And I just want to also give my thanks to the council. This has been a great opportunity to look at North Table Mountain and kind of close in the conservation gaps that were up there and include the tribal participation in the conservation stewardship, allowing for traditional ecological practitioners to have a long-term land management projects and workshops that are within our long-term land management plan that allows this to go into perpetuity. As we all know, tribal stewards have been here for thousands of years on these lands, and we are putting the stewardship practices and methodologies back onto conservation lands for biodiversity and also for carbon sequestration to be measured for 30 by 30.
As well as foods, fibers, and medicines for the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our final commenter on this item is Bettina Rosmarino. Bettina, are you with us?
Yes, hello. My name is Bettina Rosmarino, and I'm the Land Acquisition Director for Oswald Land Trust in Riverside County. And I have a little bit of a cold, so hopefully I don't have to clear my throat too much. In the past 2 years, we have been working with volunteers in our organization to find and work with farms in Imperial and Riverside counties to find opportunities for agricultural conservation easements. And as Mr. Seth Wilson previously mentioned, thank you for mentioning us, Mr. Wilson, these farms are in severely disadvantaged communities in which development is rapidly replacing arable land in an alarming fashion. Oswald Land Trust wanted to express our sincere appreciation of recommendation for a capacity grant. Although we have had great success with volunteer effort and with the help of the Trust for Public Land have already worked with a farm to put a conservation easement on 2,000 acres, this capacity grant will enable us to continue our outreach and build on that success to protect farmland for our communities and the state, and to protect wildlife from the fragmentation the development represents. So thank you to staff Chandra, Artemis, and Shauna for your guidance, the Strategic Growth Council, Department of Conservation, California Climate Investments, and the Sustainable Agricultural Lands Conservation Program.
Thank you. That concludes public comment on this item.
Great. Again, thank you for the public for all those comments. They are, again, as I mentioned earlier, incredibly helpful for us and for staff to really hear it directly from you. And obviously on this specific program, the incredible benefits from heritage, addressing equity, and protection for generations to come. It's also multi-benefit action, and that's why I think this is one of the most important programs that we have in SGC. From carbon sequestration to reducing vehicle miles traveled, it's a big bang for the money compared to important but energy infrastructure that you put out there. And you look at land conservation, all important, but you get a lot more return for the money. But I think what this illustrates to me is just hearing the incredible impact it has to the people who actually use the land and the ones that are really wanting to preserve that unique quality and resource for generations to come. So thank you for the feedback. Very helpful. I guess I opened council conversation. So Secretary Crawford.
Well, first of all, I just want to echo your compliments on the program, and it's clear how important it is across California. California's working lands, as I've been educated by Secretary Ross and so many others, are just a tremendous point of pride that we need to protect across California. This has been just such an energizing day. On the one hand, with TC, the Transformative Climate Communities Grant, and the other with these grants. And so I'm just really proud that the state can support this work and the many multiple benefits that Sam references. I also want to acknowledge this is a sea change with this program in really lifting up the importance of returning land to tribes. You know, in 2020, shortly after he took office, Governor Newsom issued a formal apology on behalf of California to tribal communities. And I had the benefit of witnessing that, easily the most important day in this job for me. And the governor and tribal leaders recognized it as really powerfully symbolic, but that if that's all that happened, it would not be nearly enough. And the governor committed to actually follow that apology with redressing these historic wrongs. And one way that we do that is recognize California tribes as the leaders that they are, stewarding our lands, and where we can, getting lands back to the original homelands, back to tribes. And that's critically important work. So the fact that SALC is doing that, and that we can point to so many proposed acquisitions that do that, is a huge deal. It's complicated, and it involves thoughtful and careful outreach and consideration. So given that, I wanted to ask a few questions based on some of the concerns that were raised to us in the last few days. The first is as it relates to one of the proposed acquisitions, I think in the Upper Feather River Basin by the North Fork Mono Tribe. We heard and read a letter of communication from leadership of the Southern Sierra Miwok Nation, which is a tribal community that claims these lands as original homelands. And so one assertion that they communicate is that they did not receive outreach as it relates to the acquisition. And so can you just walk us through sort of what the process has been of the staff to reach out to tribal communities that may have lands considered for acquisition by tribes within their original homelands?
Yes. So I will say that is a shortcoming of our program right now, and it is one of the items that we have flagged that we need to redress. We do not have built into the SALC program a formal way to engage with tribes or to notify tribes of our projects. And so that was a limitation that we faced here. We had conversations internally about the possibility of doing a notification on this process, but felt that because we don't have that formal process built in, it did not make sense to do that for one project, but not all projects. And so we were concerned about the potential ramifications of doing it for one project, but not all projects. And because we didn't have it built into our process, we did not have the capacity to take that step at this time. Again, it's something that we are looking to redress and that we'll be seriously considering for the round 10 guidelines.
Well, thank you for that. And again, I want to compliment the staff on pursuing tribal acquisition. So this isn't meant as a criticism, but it is critically important that if we consider acquisitions of tribal lands or lands to tribes, that we work through the notification processes. That's complex because we have 110 federally recognized tribes. We have other tribes that aren't federally recognized, but that deserve notification. We don't have a perfect list for notification. Oftentimes the Native American Heritage Commission list is referenced, but actually that was only generated as a contact list for the repatriation of cultural assets. So terribly complex, but critically important. And so I would just say, we need to very quickly identify what outreach is. What sort of standardized outreach we'll do on each of these. Given that, and given the concern of this tribe about acquisition of land in their original homelands by another tribe, clearly they're very concerned, notwithstanding the leadership of the current applicant, Mr. Good, that in future years or in future generations, that their tribe would be denied access. And as I understand it, there may be interest or willingness or commitment personally of the gentleman who submitted the application to maintain that access. But I remain very concerned about the lack of sort of formal agreement on that continued access. So can you help me understand, how we might address that?
Thank you for raising that, Secretary Crowfoot. And also I really appreciate all the outreach that has come through this process, because I think it has been very much a learning curve for us, but one that we take very seriously. And it really does give us kind of a window into what we need to be doing to continue to make this program work for tribal applicants. So when we think about this next part of the process, I think it's really important to kind of know what's coming next in the way that our grants are administered. So after award, we go through a process to get into a standard agreement where all of the different documentations that have been created as part of that application, including the notice of funding, the application itself, that often lays out a great deal of information about what the commitments may be from the applicant, the strategy of the applicant, the outcomes that the applicant is putting forward. Those then become part of the official contractual documentation that goes into the standard agreement, which then serves as the documentation that SGC uses to monitor, to evaluate, to continue to have a contractual arrangement with the grantee and the awardee at that point. So I think that is really a point that we should look at for this particular situation, because I think that application is also rich with ideas, relationships, collaborative language, and also becomes part of the binding agreement on the standard agreement should the council move forward with this award.
Lynn, that's really helpful. So in short, that means that we can explore and hopefully identify a way to standardize or formalize that access for Southern Sierra Miwok to this property within the subsequent process after this award. In other words, the sort of formalization, the so-called fine print in the agreement.
That is correct. And I think we're walking a very careful line here on not wanting to add any requirements that were not in the original guidelines, because we also want to be very true to the process that we set at the beginning of the guideline process. But if you look at the way that the full documentation is structured, that is accurate.
Got it. And I'm optimistic that this may be an appropriate and feasible pathway given the willingness of the applicant, the intent of the applicant to maintain access for this other tribe. So we can continue. I won't belabor this point, but one modified friendly amendment we could make to the motion would be an expectation that an agreement is an appropriate agreement within the context or within the framework of the guidelines is effectuated such that this Southern Sierra Miwok Nation continues to have access to this land. So I'm not making the motion yet, but I'll park it there and then turn it back to you, Sam, for others who may want to comment.
Great, we'll discuss that. Secretary Ross?
I really appreciate all the comments, and I think because of the quality of the comments that really testify to what these programs do, in the bigger sense of the word, I'm not going to just go on and on and on about how much I love this program, but I do want to say how much I appreciate Shauna, you and all of the staff that work on this, and the fact that we are making this kind of an investment that we've never been able to make before. Next year, with 10 years, I think we'll have over 1 million acres. A lot of those acres count, as Secretary Crowfoot knows, towards our 30 by 30 goals. Last week, I had the pleasure of speaking at COP at America the Beautiful and talked about how this program so aligns with America the Beautiful, only ours has real money behind it and some pretty strong guidelines for it. And I just think when we think about our working lands as part of our climate strategy, not a lot of other people are thinking about it that way. And so it was really important, I thought, to really continue to show what California is doing that could be an example for others. I don't want to cut off discussion, but I'd be more than happy to make the motion to accept these with the friendly amendment from Secretary Crowfoot.
Lynn, you have something?
Yes,
to
if you'll
add?
give us just a second, we were just discussing what the language might be that we might recommend for the friendly amendment. So if we just give Matt and Shauna just 2 seconds, then I think they will be ready to propose.
While the staff are
So
working on it.
we can hold on the motion and continue with council discussions, and then we'll come back to that.
I really
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I like the other programs that we've heard today. I appreciate all the feedback and hearing the real impacts that the program will have. I'm deeply appreciative of the staff for working through programs that, again, need to evolve when we're learning new conditions. And I appreciate the humility that we all bring to the process to know that we can keep doing better and reflecting. So no objections to the amendments and the expertise that's proposed that supports the way that we're thinking about it. Been thinking, could we do a conditional award, which is what we would explore in housing programs. And so I look forward to hearing the motion. But I actually wanted to reflect upon the timeline that was proposed for the next round of guidelines, because what we're hearing today, I think, is warranting staff to reflect and to really explore what is needed in the next round of the program to make sure that this process is more inclusive of the consultation and collaboration between tribes. And even if this wasn't 2 tribes, what should this consultation look like? With the holidays approaching and with the proposal for draft guidelines to come before the council in February, I feel a little bit of nervousness about that timeline. So I wanted to see if there was openness to adjusting. I don't need an answer today, but would love to hear back at the next council meeting. If we can make sure to breathe enough space into this to get the requisite expertise and feedback here. And in that, even before the discussion today, I had been thinking and reflecting on a different part of this program, which I really appreciate, is the acknowledgement that through conservation, we can also promote compact development and infill. And I think in light of Council Priority 3 and the ways that we committed to all explore how our programs can actively remove barriers to infill and promote compact development, I know that at least among key staff, there's been some discussion about ways that we might be able to do that. So 2 points, this will be my last thing, I promise. One, I understand that there's a development envelope that comes with some of the conservation easements. And I think it would be helpful to explore the extent to which we can have farm worker housing in those easements. Not saying a yes, but just consideration. And could we breathe that into the guidelines? That's one. And then the second is just that reflection on how to actively promote infill and compact development, because that doesn't happen in the areas where we're conserving. So how can we complement other efforts to infill? So again, another reason to kind of pause the guideline development or just make sure that we have enough space for it, at least at BCSH agency and our departments. We'd be happy to lean into any part of that discussion. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Great. Else?
I'll just say
Secretary Garcia.
quickly, yes, thank you. Very quickly, 2 things. Really appreciate the comments made so far and support certainly the language that will be coming. Looking forward to hearing that. Also want to note that, you know, the self-identification for non-recognized tribes is an issue that I think we can all agree is complicated and has come before all of us. So I want to make that very clear to the staff and the team at the council, because it's certainly something that comes up to us at Cal EPA quite often. And so just want to offer as well, to the extent that it's helpful, to speak to existing advisory committees about best practices around consultation, about how to get the word out, and those sort of notification requirements. Not to say that what we do is perfect, is far from, and don't want to say that, but I do think that we learn from one another in that kind of exchange as well. So just want to offer that out. And really appreciate Deputy Secretary Gershen's comments. Totally agree on the timing. We would rather have, I think, something that addresses some of these concerns over the longer term in a longer time frame than right away in February. So with those 2 amendments, I think we'd be comfortable moving forward.
Great. Great feedback. And I do agree, especially on the consultation as well, if staff could sort of prepare or explore that and then come back for how we can incorporate that in the guidelines. With that, Matt, do we have, and I do agree with the amended motion as well. So if you can help us with crafting language.
So some wording on a potential motion per Secretary Crowfoot, if it would be to include the motion with direction to uphold commitments to maintain access that are contained in the application, right? Because there's a documentary record there, with particular effort to ensure the ongoing access of the Southern Sierra Miwok.
So can you, sorry, can you read the first, what, so here I'm interested in, I think it's critical to formalize access as a condition of the acquisition versus expressing commitment to outside of sort of a legal construct or the terms of the acquisition. I mean, Deputy Secretary makes a good point on conditional approval with some direction. So we can, consider that as well.
One way to potentially word it so that it's not requiring particular engagement between two external tribes would be to say, potentially move with the condition to formalize access among any tribes with historical interest in the given parcel. So it's not directly calling out one particular potential tribe. Would that get to what you're? But formalizing access, I'm hearing, and
I think that meets my intent, because it would ensure that this tribe and any others that have those lands as original homelands would have access. But I'm not a lawyer, so let me turn to some of my colleagues who are. Secretary Garcia.
I mean, I would suggest that if we can't land on the language currently, I think the conditional approval with a conversation to come with the applicant and the Southern Miwok would probably be the best way to approach it now without having the perfect language at hand.
Can I assume that whatever is ultimately orchestrated / wordsmith would then be brought back to us for a full approval? Or is, the conditional approval is conditioned on something that then the conditionality is removed at some point in time. Will the ultimate resolution be shared with this body for final approval?
We do structure conditional approvals in many of our programs, including TCC. If those conditions are met, nothing is brought back to the council and the grant agreement is executed as passed. So if a conditional approval is included in the motion, then if that condition is met, it wouldn't come back. If that condition is somehow not met.
Here's my issue. Are you clear what the condition is?
So right now, it would be to formalize access agreements with the Southern Sierra Miwok, particularly?
Because I thought I heard from our esteemed legal counsel, if we can't land on it right now, we'll come back to it. So
I would hope that any condition, we would have some language around what the actual condition that exists is as we move it forward. Otherwise, it's more direction to staff, which.
Yeah, and I should be clear. I think the reason it may be helpful to have a placeholder conditional approval language now is because the direct access may have to be discussed further, what that looks like. That's my sense, but I'm open to other suggestions.
Chair, can I make a suggestion?
Go ahead.
I was just trying to point to me. So I was just going to bring a suggestion that the Transportation Commission uses to see if SGC would be open to it. When we hit situations like this where we can't make an amendment on the dais, we often use a reservation to basically say that we want to hold this funding for that project, but we wouldn't approve the project today, and it would allow space for further conversation off dais to, with the applicant to be able to figure out how you can move that forward. So just another suggestion in the mix where you wouldn't have to put any conditions today. You just say we're holding this money for this particular applicant, and it would have to be approved through, hopefully through consent at a future time when everything's resolved.
I think that works well. If the council's comfortable.
Yeah, and I would note, we're planning to meet again in February. I mean, I think nobody has an intent on holding this acquisition up longer than it needs to be, but we do want to create space for an appropriate, legally durable approach that maintains access for both tribes. So as far as I'm concerned, what the Deputy Secretary suggested would make sense if we can add that to the motion. In other words, move to approve staff recommendations on all of the proposed awards, with the exception of that specific acquisition, reserving funding and requesting staff to come back at the February meeting with its recommendation.
I would agree. Yeah, I think that would be good. So do you want to drop the language? Or
Honestly, I think, yeah, we can. Because there was also additional amendment language that was discussed, I'm sorry, when I was discussing with Shauna, were there other additional?
That was related to the timeline, which was not part, that was just the next steps. It
okay.
wasn't part of the action that we were asking the council to take. So we can take the direction without having to put it into the language for the vote on adjusting the timeline to be able to include the engagement approach.
Sure. Lois, would you mind pulling up the recommendation slide? Thank you. To be approved staff recommendations for salt ground mine planning, capacity, and agricultural conservation acquisition awards, reserving the award for the North Fork Mono to the February, for potential award at the February council meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I would make that motion.
Motion made by Secretary Crawford,
I'll second.
second by Sasha. No, you, second by Secretary Garcia.
We have a motion and a second. Director Acefa.
Yes.
Public Member Cardenas.
Yes.
Secretary Crowfoot.
Yes.
Secretary Garcia.
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Kurgan.
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Musavi.
Yes.
Deputy Director Radhakrishna.
Yes.
Secretary Ross.
Yes.
Public Member Munoz.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. And thank you, Wade, for lifting that issue, bringing that up. So we'll move on now to item 9, which is a discussion item on SGC's racial equity action plan. And again, I'll invite, is it Lynn coming up to give us an overview? And Michael Jimenez.
And I would just like to introduce Michael Jimenez.
Great.
Good afternoon, Chair Acefa and esteemed council. My name is Michael Jimenez. I am the Health and Equity Program Analyst at SGC. I'm honored to bring forward our annual Racial Equity Action Plan progress update to you all and discussion. Next slide, please. And in the interest of time, I'll make this a express lane presentation. But our first REAP was adopted in 2019 in April, after SGC participated in the Capital Collaborative on Race and Equity Capacity Building Program. Our second REAP has been updated for 2023 to 2025. Next slide, please. Some of what's new in kind of the structure and design of the updated action plan includes direct feedback that we got at our closeout from the council last October in 2022. The first item is including clear metrics and timelines across every facet of the action plan. We had been tracking that internally, but we're really encouraged to be more kind of visible about and showing our work within the action plan around our commitments. We newly define priority communities. So we have an operative term across the SGC programs that refers to Black, Native American, and all communities of color. We understand that programs have specific communities they serve either due to statute or enabling legislation, but this really has come to our terminology that we use across our action plan. Each program has been hard at work setting specific commitments and racial equity statements. So the first inaugural REAP really included kind of groupings of commitments and objectives across similar programs. Now programs have become more advanced in their work and have set specific statements and commitments that are really tailor-made to their timelines, their objectives, and the like. And on an ongoing basis, we really look forward to receiving feedback from diverse audiences, including the council, our racial equity working group, SGC staff, our state partners, and also partners external to the state. Next slide, please. In addition to the structural changes, we have a variety of new racial equity topics that are included. I want to share about our advanced pay implementation for select programs per Assembly Bills 156 and 211. We're really enabling lower capacity entities and organizations who are applying to SGC resources to move away from a reimbursement model and to have advanced pay ahead of time as a key equity strategy across, again, selected programs. We really want to align SGC's overarching racial equity work with other state-led equity efforts, including the Executive Order on Advancing Equity from 2022 from the Newsom administration, the Racial Equity Commission, and forthcoming staffing around that effort, and the Truth in Healing Council. The two kind of more racial equity specific objectives and priorities of the council include the Racial Equity Resource Hub and capacity building as an equity strategy. So all these priorities were kind of predated the launch of this action plan. We are newly kind of incorporating that within the leadership section of the action plan for tracking. And I know, tribal engagement and coordination has been a key topic of conversation today as well. So we have newly incorporated this within our action plan and see this as a part of our racial equity work as well, and the emerging opportunities to really improve SGC's work in this field. So next slide, please. This is where I'll breeze through. I wish I had time to amplify the great updates from across all programs. And that's what our staff report is for as well. Our comprehensive report, it's like 17 pages. It's amazing. But first, I think across council activities and executive leadership, SGC in the last year has really aimed to meet communities where they are through site visits, through creation of community stories, through building relationships with community leaders. Even following our Catalyst conference this year, we had roundtables in kind of the more harder to reach areas of California. So really trying to meet communities where they are, especially our priority communities. Aligning the REAP with our strategic plan, which was launched this year as well, has been a huge priority, as well as for the council doing traveling meetings, each of your agencies posting blog posts on Medium of your racial equity successes, as well as that annual update of interagency racial equity updates is really critical to kind of keeping this conversation alive across the state. And then just one program I want to highlight, if I can, has been the Climate Change Research Program and their participatory research model they've been implementing this year to really build capacity and bring communities into climate change research projects across the state. And this is a really promising model that I know they've been amplifying widely across different audiences, and just wanted to share that here. Next slide, please, Lois. And one item I want to share too here is about the SALT program, which of course we spent time discussing today. And I do want to share that, their efforts have also to improve their outreach to priority communities have made tangible changes to their guidelines, have led to more kind of intentional outreach to communities, and expected increase in applications from priority communities. So that's another model. Again, I know we spent some time discussing that today, and there's room for improvement, but it is something that is being tracked within this plan, and we like to work hand in hand across programs in that effort. Next slide, please. We have 3 internal staff working groups as well across 3 priority racial equity topics. One I want to note is our workforce equity working group. We, as of I think August or July, have administered our 3rd internal demographic and identity survey, where we assess the racial and ethnic representation of the SGC workforce in comparison to the California population as a whole. And we really use this as a tool to support all representations within the SGC workforce and inform our hiring and outreach practices. Again, I wish I had more time to highlight these internal staff efforts, but these groups meet monthly and are representative of all programs across the organization. So it really takes a holistic approach. So next slide, please. So last year, your feedback was really critical, and we want to open that up. Chair Sefa, if you could take down this question as well. What feedback, guidance, or tools do you have from your agencies to help us as SGC practitioners advance our racial equity work in the coming year? Your feedback has been immensely helpful in shaping our updated plan, so I look forward to hearing more. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Michael. Again, I applaud the team for really advancing this priority over the last year and also seeing really practical changes, informing guidelines, advanced pay. This is kind of a process of embedding that racial equity or equity lens into state programs. That's what that means, and I really appreciate that. In terms of, and I'm also excited to note that Office of Planning and Research has stood up the first racial equity commission in the country for a state. And their first meeting is going to be January 24th. The commission will be meeting on that day. By the governor's executive order, their charge is to basically look at the state operations, state engagements, as well as local jurisdictions, and advise the state, the governor and the legislatures what it means to truly embed equity in state governments. This is, again, a transformation that is very unique to California as a state, and that came from the leadership, and then work that is being done on the ground within state agencies such as the SGC's program. So that commission would be a good resource as we advance through SGC racial equity. These are people, commissioners that are appointed who are on the ground, who've been doing this work for many, many years from various aspects of what racial equity means. So I'm looking very much forward to their engagement and how they can also help advise and inform the work that we're doing here at SGC. But thanks for the work. It has really advanced from the initial concept that we discussed just a couple of years ago. So with that, start council discussion first, or?
We have no public comments on this item.
Great, I'll open it up.
I just want to say, I know you're asking us a question, but I want to acknowledge that much of the work that we've done on racial equity, including the release, has been posted on our website now for quite some time, and we'll do a public listening sessions on that early next year. We've been inspired by what the Strategic Growth Council has done. And so I'm very grateful that we're all here together and we have this chance to learn, observe, and I think just the iterations of what we talked about for the previous awards program, we are learning, and we also know how important it is. It's better to go slow and make sure we're doing the listening as opposed, it's not a race, except that we also don't want to lose the sense of importance and not allowing it to drop off the radar screen, which can be a tendency. The larger the organizations, the more that tendency is. I think you've noticed some of the more practical applications, and advanced pay is one of those. But another one is just, and Secretary Garcia has shared this several times, several of us have advisory boards. We did, going back 3 years ago, we had established an ad hoc BIPOC Farmer Advisory Committee, as well as a Small Farmer Advisory Committee. We have formalized those as standing committees at CDFA, and they both have held their first meetings in 2023. But all of us have advisory committees, and is there a way for us to learn faster together because of just the sharings of what we're hearing from our own particular advisory committees? Because so much of the climate work requires that an even more integrated approach to what we're doing. And so I just would offer that as something to formalize, and because Strategic Growth Council doesn't have enough to do. But I think there would be great benefit to us really trying to catalog some of that. And Michael, good work. We continue to be aspired at the Department of Food and Agriculture. Thank you.
Great feedback.
Michael, great job. Very loaded presentation, crisp, but it was really loaded. As a public member, I just want to suggest not having not being of the executive branch. how breathtakingly encouraging and really stunning it is to see the commitment that the secretaries who populate this council have toward racial equity and driving it through their bureaucracies. It's really stunning. Conversations that I have with other council members, but also some of your line staff, which you may or may not know about outside of the context of these meetings. Your individual commitment is profound, and it's being felt throughout your organizations, and that's got to bode well for the future of the state as a whole. So thank you guys for what you're doing.
Well, I would just say this is it's really encouraging presentation, and I think SGC has played a really important role shifting, us in state government from talking the talk to walking the walk. And I think SGC can continue to be a hub of what's working across our agencies, across our departments. What are the best practices that are being institutionalized that we can emulate? Within our Natural Resources Agency, we're doing that. We're really excited to be issuing, and I'll make sure everybody gets it at the Strategic Growth Council, our first year in review as it relates to our progress on equity, in part to basically allow for to lift up the good tangible things that are happening so that others across the agency can learn. So I think that really SGC continuing to serve as that hub where it's identifying really practical applications of this that are being institutionalized and continuing to train and build, sort of lift everybody's game up will be really, really helpful. Now, I think the next 3 years is all about institutionalizing this across our agencies.
Great. Sasha, please.
Real quick, and kind of building on that, I wanted to thank the resource of the hub that exists. I've mentioned it to the executive director, but recently had the opportunity to share with other state housing finance agencies who were asking, how do we get engaged in racial equity? What does that look like? We have a lot of work to do within housing, to put it mildly, but just to say it was wonderful to point to a resource that we've all contributed to share these lessons. To some of the discussions that we had today about our engagement with tribal governments, tribal partners, and all the learning that we're doing, I do look forward to exploring whether or not the resource hub can be expanded to reflect on and prevent redundancy of some of these lessons happening in silos. And so again, not to shift more work to your great team, but just to explore if we can expand in that area as we grow. And then to the chair's point about connecting with the Racial Equity Commission, just wanted to lift up that within the Civil Rights Department, there's also a commission on the state of hate who might be an additional resource as you seek to grow and partner. So thank you for all the work and the wonderful presentation.
Comments. Rohan, please.
Like Secretary Ross, Health and Human Services, grateful for you leading the way. Like Deputy Secretary Kerrigan, we share this far and wide with other states. The resources are useful, and we're all part of this community of practice and learning. In your executive report, you referenced the Health and All Policies Task Force as one that we look forward to continue learning from as well as contributing to. Our agency is in the middle of an equity strategic plan, and so are taking a lot of the lessons learned through community engagement right now, and look forward to sharing that later next year. So please continue the interagency collaboration. I think we all want to learn faster and fail less often in the ways that our colleagues are doing. A few specific areas, you talk about grant making, and I think that's one where with Justice 40 as an example, we can look at not just some sources, but more sources, and not necessarily just 40%. If you think of historic disinvestment and compound interest, we may need more ambitious goals to level the playing field, and you have power to infuse that across many sectors and funding streams and programs. So looking more ambitiously at distributional racial equity and in grant making would be powerful. And finally, I'll just mention a bit out of left field, the importance of looking at generative artificial intelligence when it comes to racial equity. We know that our governor issued an executive order in September, the president in October. Just before Thanksgiving, our administration put out a report on the benefits and the risks. And it's something that is catching us at breathtaking speed and will revolutionize workforce service delivery, has tremendous opportunities for access, and also comes with it some perils of reinforcing bias in decisions. So certainly at a Catalyst conference now and in the future, looking at that topic and the implications for equity, and convening spaces where we as agencies can all talk about our plans for how we put some guardrails, but also embrace the potential equity benefits of generative artificial intelligence.
Great. That now brings us to the last item, which is public comments. This is comments that are matters that are not on the agenda. And unfortunately, this is not a dialogue with council members, but questions that may come up during this public comments could be answered by the executive director. With that, Matt, do we have any public comments?
We have 3 public comments on matters not on the agenda. We have 1 in-person public comment and 2 virtual. I will ask Joseph Scriven, if he's still in attendance, to approach the podium, please. While he's approaching the podium, if Arnab Paul and Leroy Candler could please raise their hands on the Zoom platform, we can do this expeditiously.
Good afternoon, council and staff. My name is Joe Scriven. I'm from the Mendocino County Resource Conservation District, and I didn't know how to sign up on the public comment card when our item came up. And so I'm sorry for that, but I'm also grateful because I got to stay here for the past couple hours and listen and learn and hear what the Strategic Council really does. And it's amazing. You are such an amazing team and so effective in advancing these important topics throughout our state. So thank you for the good work you're doing. Now I want to just say thank you also for approving the application for that project development grant we had submitted. And we're so excited. We're going to be working with 4 Native American tribes in the Upper Russian River watershed. And this is going to be a huge relationship building process. And they have been hard to engage. And so this is a chance for our RCD to engage with the tribal councils and their departments in a real meaningful way. And our primary project partner is Energy Systems, and they are an amazing talent of architects and engineers that will work closely with what the tribal councils want and how the Transformative Climate Communities grant can benefit them, and they will drive the process. And so I can't tell you how grateful I am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe. On the line, we have Arnab Paul. Arnab, are you with us?
I'm there. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You may begin.
Thank you. So I would like to just briefly comment on the SGC executive report on something that I wasn't able to touch on while I was there, and the VPPs through the public-private partnerships. I'd first like to start off by thanking Director Von Koch-Liebert and her wonderful team at SGC for their partnership with the Department of Loan Programs Office, where I serve as a consultant to. And they've been able to help us educate and provide outreach opportunities across the state so renewable energy and clean tech companies and projects can access our DOE loan guarantee program. While the LPO cannot endorse any specific state initiative, I do believe that the Strategic Growth Council's efforts to invest in virtual power plant deployment will help the sector achieve commercial liftoff, reduce emissions, and make your communities more resilient. As noted in our commercial liftoff report, with electricity demand growing for the first time in a decade and fossil assets retiring, deploying 80 to 160 gigawatts of virtual power plants, tripling its current scale by 2030 could support rapid electrification while redirecting grid spending from peaker plants to participants and reducing overall grid costs. Deploying this 80 to 160 gigawatts of virtual power plants will help address the national capacity needs and could save about $10 billion in annual grid costs across the country, and will direct grid spending back to electricity consumers. At this scale, virtual power plants could contribute approximately 10 to 20% of peak demand. So thank you all for what you're doing, and we look forward to continuing the partnership.
Thank you, Arnab. Our last commenter is Leroy Candler. Leroy, are you with us?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You may begin your comment.
Yes, my name is Leroy Candler, and I am the Administrative Director and the Project Manager for Voice, the Gladiator Welding Program. First of all, I would like to say thank you to SGC and the Strategic Growth Committee for the grant that was given to Fresno and for this disadvantaged community. We've been serving this grant for a little over 2 years now, and we have reached our grant goals of 108 trained, certified, and job placement. We've had certification and job placement from around 90 to 95% on the job placement and 95% on completion of the program. Or we have and we are entering into our finishing up, our 5th cohort, and we would have reached over 108, which was the grant requirements. Actually, it'll be about 128. We were trying to be overachievers, and we have another 6 months of the grant period that's left on the grant. And unfortunately, our partners have decided they wanted to terminate the program. And there is not to say that this has not been without challenges, but the program has 700 students and clients that are trying to get in this program. We have a waiting list of 700. We have 50 to 60 people applying to get in this program every month. We need to find a way that we continue this program, and I implore the Strategic Growth Committee to look a little bit closer at the program and its participants, as well as the people that's actually doing the work in the field to make this happen. I'm thankful for what we have done, but we need to do more, and we need you guys to pay a little closer attention to the partners and what they're supposed to be doing as part of the partners and keeping up with their end of the deal.
Thank you. That concludes public comment on matters not on the agenda.
Great. So that brings us to meeting adjournment. I want to thank SGC staff, council members, and the public for engaging today. And I also want to thank support staff, Camille, Agustin, Lois, Melissa, Alex. Thank you for all the support. With that, I wish everybody a happy, healthy, and safe holiday season. This meeting